Chapter 494. Xianhuang World. North Sea. Above the sea, two figures stood on the sea. It was Chen Daoxian and Luoli. Chen Lang, are you going to create spiritual life here? Luoli looked at the endless sea and said in surprise. Chen Daoxian nodded, that's it. As he said, he turned his palm over, and a tiny light spot floated in his palm, which was the spirituality created by Chen Daoxian. Now, he will use this spirituality to create a new spiritual life. Seeing this scene, not only Luoli, but also Chen Daoxian himself was a little excited. After creating spiritual life, his Xianhuang realm will undergo a thorough upgrade, and when the upgrade of the Xianhuang realm is over, he will be a veritable Taoist in the realm of creation. Think about this. Chen Daoxian stopped dawdling, and used the biological model constructed in his mind to create a new spiritual life according to the method he had tried countless times in the past. In the void. A beating heart was created by Chen Daoxian with the power of the world of Xianhuang realm, followed by other internal organs, nerves, bones. Slowly, a humanoid species began to appear in front of Chen Daoxian. But when he created the lower part of this life, it was not a lower limb, but a fish tail. That's right, the spiritual life Chen Daoxian wants to create is exactly the mermaid race, similar to the merman race. However, this new race is quite different from the mermaid, more like the mermaid in the myths and legends of the previous life. Gradually, a fish tail several meters long appeared in front of the two of them, and the final perfection was the mermaid's brain. The brain part is also the key. Last time, Chen Daoxian failed at this step. Because no matter how he perfected it with the power of the world, the brain he created was always incompatible with the torso. Chen Daoxian didn't understand it before, but only later learned that it is impossible to create spiritual life without spirituality. This is also the reason why he has devoted himself to studying the origin of spirituality for so long. Fortunately, the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic continued to help him recover his consumed consciousness. The speed at which he studied the origin of spirituality was many times faster than that of other world-level 5th-level Daijins. To sum up, Chen Daoxian was able to create spirituality so quickly, and the two functions of Hongmeng Enlightenment of Taoism, which doubled his understanding and restored his consciousness, were indisputable. On the side, Luoli saw that Chen Daoxian was concentrating on creating the brain of this mermaid, and his expression suddenly became nervous. She knows that success or failure is here. At the moment when the mermaid's brain was formed in front of him, Chen Daoxian snapped out a bit of spirituality in his right hand. The flying spirituality hit the brain of the female mermaid in front of her. The brain, which was in violent conflict with the torso and was about to collapse at any time, suddenly became quiet after accepting this spirituality. Did you make it? Luoli couldn't help but said. Chen Daoxian nodded and smiled, it's done. Hearing this, Luoli laughed happily. The next job is to modify the face of the female mermaid. Chen Daoxian, as a face control, decisively created a look for her that he thought was beautiful. Looking at the beautiful appearance of the mermaid in front of him, Luoli had some taste. Why did you make it so beautiful? It looks pleasing to the eye. Chen Daoxian smiled. Luoli pouted, but she wasn't really angry. The newly created spiritual life is just a mortal thing. It is almost impossible to have spiritual roots and embark on the path of cultivation. You must know that even the human race, a race of spiritual beings known as the spirit of all things, is 1 in 100 people with spiritual roots, not to mention the low-end spiritual beings created by Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian saw that the heat was about the same, so he simply threw the mermaid into the North Sea. The moment the mermaid touched the sea water, its eyes suddenly opened. Unlike the black pupils of the human race, this female mermaid's pupils were green. Although Chen Daoxian and Luoli were standing on the sea several feet above the mermaid, the female mermaid couldn't find them at all. It jumped out of the sea suddenly, with a sharp cry from its mouth, and immediately flipped over and jumped into the sea again. As a world with a diameter of more than 300,000 miles, Xuanhuangji already has a relatively complete ecological chain in the North Sea, and there are a large number of fish and algae in the North Sea. This newly created female mermaid does not lack food. Luo Li asked curiously, is this the end? Of course not, Chen Daoxian smiled and shook his head. The upgrading of the world is an extremely long process, but spiritual life is its catalyst. Now there is only one female mermaid in the Xianhuang realm, and this catalyst is too little. Although he didn't quite understand what the catalyst in Chen Daoxuan's mouth meant, Luo Li also roughly understood the meaning of Chen Daoxuan's words. In the next days, Chen Daoxian sat quietly above the North Sea and kept creating the mermaid tribe. One after another mermaid was created by him. As more and more mermaids were created, a wonderful change began to take place in the Xianhuang world. This kind of change, Chen Daoxian is also a little unclear, because this change is more like a reward of the Tao. Although Luo Li's cultivation base was low, she also felt this change. Zuan Wangji is transforming. Chen Daoxuan's eyes were full of joy. After working so hard for so long, he finally took this step, and he had no reason not to be excited. More importantly, only by becoming a Daojun of Creation Realm can you be qualified to compete for the recommended spot for Wuhe Tianzuan. Otherwise, Chen Daoxian doesn't even have the qualifications to compete, not to mention getting a place. You know, that is heavenly venerate transcending tribulation. The pinnacle of the human race. Whether it is Shouyuan or strength, Tianzuan Du Jia is the top group of people in the human race. And to become Tianzuan of transcending tribulation, if he has power behind him, it also means that this power is qualified to become the top power in the human race. Strength represents everything, especially in today's precarious human race. A whole year. The transformation of the Xianhuang realm finally stopped. This time the world has been upgraded, and the expansion of the world is only one of them. More importantly, Chen Daoxian found that the spiritual energy of the Xianhuang realm has become more intense. If it is said that the Xianhuang realm in the past could only allow monks who did not exceed the Zifu period to practice here, now the Xianhuang realm can accommodate the cultivators of the nascent soul period to practice here, and the difference is huge. As for the aura environment that accommodates Yuanchen Daojun and even Dujia Tianzan's cultivation, the current Xianhuang realm is far from reaching. In this regard, Chen Daoxian is not discouraged. After all, he has just stepped into the level of creation. Not only that. After reaching the creation realm, the power of the world in the Xianhuang realm also transformed. Chen Daoxian could clearly feel that after his mana was merged with the power of the world in the Xianhuang realm, the power rose a huge ladder. As for the improvement of strength due to the transformation of the Tao law, etc., not to mention. In general, the gap in strength between the fifth layer Daojun of the world realm and the Daojun of the creation realm is larger than the gap between the Daojun of the creation realm and the heavenly lord of tribulation. Because the Daojun of the creation realm and the Tianzuan of the transcending robbery are in the final analysis, the realm of the Tao is at the same level. The only difference is that Dujia Tianzuan has passed the first thunder tribulation, and the mana in the body is transformed into pure yang immortal power. This transformation is not obvious when the two sides do not use the pure yang immortal artifact. But if Dujia Tianzuan had a pure yang immortal artifact in his hand, then the difference in combat power between the two would be very obvious. Initially possessing the magic power of immortal energy, it can exert the power of immortal weapons, which is completely different from the magic power of Daojun level. When Chen Daoxian relied on 1,000 5-star insect soldiers to kill a heavenly venerate world demon, it was also because the other party had no immortal weapons. If there was an immortal weapon, the result would probably be completely different. This is also the reason why Xiao Yuhua is so crazy and unscrupulous after knowing that Shenyuan sword sect has an immortal weapon. Not to mention that most of the immortal artifacts in the real demon world were snatched from the real immortals of the human race in ancient times, and they did not refine immortal artifacts themselves. This is also one of the few advantages that the human race has against the monsters. Looking back at Zuan Wangji, Chen Daoxian looked at Luo Li and said, let's go back to Tianzuan Mountain. Luo Li nodded obediently. Chen Daoxian waved his hand. The next moment, the figures of the two appeared directly at the foot of Tianzuan Mountain in Guanyuan realm. World teleportation is really convenient. Luo Li exclaimed. It's really convenient, but there are also many restrictions, and after breaking through the tribulation transcendence period, many monks hid the world in their bodies, and then they won't be able to use the world teleportation technique. Luo Li was by Chen Daoxuan's side, and he had some understanding of Daogen's follow-up cultivation path. She understands the meaning of Chen Daoxuan's words. If Chen Daoxian breaks through to the tribulation period in the future, he can choose to place the Xianhuang realm in the inner world. You can also choose to keep the Xianhuang realm in your body, just like the source realm in the body of a world monster. The difference between the two is putting the world outside the body can still perform the technique of world teleportation, but his strength will be much lower than that of bringing the world into the body. Therefore, most of the heavenly venerate transcending tribulations will choose to bring the heavenly venerate realm into their bodies. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian rarely sees the celestial realm in the inner world. To be precise, the heavenly venerate realm exists in the heavenly venerate in the major cities and acropolis of the human race. This is also the reason why the human race monks care so much about every immortal city. Not only because these immortal cities are pure yang immortal artifacts, the human race cannot afford to lose them. The more important reason is that every immortal city is actually a heavenly venerate realm. If Xianqing falls, unless Tianzuan can run away, it means that a Tianzuan world is destroyed. This kind of loss is really difficult for the human race to accept. Guangyuan realm. The moment Chen Daoxian appeared, Wuhe Tianzuan appeared in front of him. For the first time, Chen Daoxian saw a look of shock on Wuhe Tianzun's face. You broke through. Lucky. Chen Daoxian did not dare to be arrogant and said modestly. After a long while, Wuhe Tianzuan sighed, it's a pity, if it weren't for the world's drag, with your talent, you will definitely be able to become an immortal in the future. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but be silent. For hundreds of thousands of years, is there no cultivator in the Phoenix meteor realm and inner territory who can survive the ninth thunder calamity and become a Mahayana true immortal? Of course there is. But all because of the drag of the world, this can't be immortal. Because the Phoenix meteor realm was swallowed up by the true demon realm, the world was incomplete, and the Mahayana true immortal could no longer be born. As for Guanji, it is even more unbearable. The world status of the Guanyuan realm itself is one level lower than that of the Phoenix meteor realm. Even the Phoenix meteor realm can't give birth to the Mahayana true immortal, and the Guanyuan realm can't do it even more. The world is a drag on this sentence, not just talk. Only those heavenly venerates of 8 tribulations can truly empathize with them. Don't talk about others, just say that the Ini Tianzuan who rescued the danger of Yaoguang City, how enchanting his talent is. To be able to use the body of the 8 tribulations heavenly venerate to force back a demon court emperor master holding an immortal weapon. Such a terrifying accumulation is still stuck at the level of the 8th tribulation's heavenly venerate, unable to go any further. It is conceivable that if Ini Tianzuan was born in the real demon world, he would have become a Mahayana real immortal long ago. But what makes Chen Daoxian feel gratified is that even so, the highest level of the human race, the Silver-Winged Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan, did not choose to sell the human race to complete himself. This kind of character, Chen Daoxian sincerely admires. He respects Wuhe Tianzuan so much, not only because of the opponent's powerful strength, but also because of his noble character. On the side, Luo Li saw Wuhe Tianzuan and hurriedly bowed to him. Wuhe Tianzuan nodded, and immediately looked at Chen Daoxian. It seems that I still underestimated you. He paused. You want to compete for the spot this time? Think. Chen Daoxian was straightforward. Okay, since you want to fight, I will fulfill you. Wuhe Tianzuan continued, I chose a total of 6 people as candidates this time, and you are 7 people. Sure enough, Wuhe Tianzuan did not divide Chen Daoxian into this quota at the beginning. What he thought in his heart was to try his best to cultivate Chen Daoxian in this 1,000 years so that he could win the next place. But Wuhe Tianzuan did not expect that Chen Daoxian was so evil. In just 10 years, he actually broke through from a 3rd-level Taoist in the world to the level of a Taoist in the creation. This kind of terrifying speed of cultivation is also due to the fact that only Wuhe Tianzuan knows about it. If it is known by the real immortal level world demon of Yaoting, I am afraid that it will try to get rid of Qingdao Xian. Compared with the fully defended human race, the world demon is much stronger. Due to their powerful strength, the world monsters have many more options than the human race. Although the real demon world is in a state of division, its foundation is too deep. With just one demon court, the strength far exceeds that of all the cultivators. It is for this reason that Yao Ting has been implementing a plan for a long time, that is, a genius monk who has a plan to understand the human race. No matter how talented the monks of the human race are, they cannot break through to the Mahayana true immortal. But a Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate, a monk even stronger than Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate, sits in the main city of the human race, and it will be a huge obstacle for the world monster to attack the entire human race in the future. This point, the high level of Yaoting is very clear. So, for hundreds of thousands of years, the genius monks of the human race have been assassinated. Even, due to the great power of the world demon, there are many traitors in the human race who are willing to act as the world demon lackeys. Fortunately, after the world demon destroys the human race in the future, they can save a life. Wuhe Tianzuan thought about it for a while, and then said, "Among the 7 of you, you don't know each other, and you must know the reason why I did this." Qingdao Xian nodded, "I know." "No, you don't know." Wuhe Tianzuan shook his head and sighed. Although this is the inner domain of our human race, due to the increasing momentum of the demon court recently, many people have been unable to bear it. The last time I was in Yaoguang City to help another city, I was ambushed on the way and the whole army was wiped out, which is an example. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 495. Wuhe Tianzan's words made Chen Daoxuan's heart shudder. Indeed, in the current situation of the human race, it is not normal for no one to rape. This is still the world monsters feeding on the human race, otherwise Qingdao Xian is sure that there will be more monks who surrender and become traitors. Acting as a traitor to the world monster, even if the world monster wins, these spies may not end well. After all, the world monster is notorious for its brutality. But even so, there are still quite a few monks in the human race who are lucky, or, in other words, the monks who are a little more rational are not optimistic about the future of the human race. It is human nature for some people to seek a way out, even if this way of retreat does not seem so reliable. The 7 of you are all the preparatory heavenly venerates that I have selected, especially you. Wuhe Tianzuan looked at him. In the future, before your strength has reached the level of Silver Wing Tianzuan, you must hide yourself well, remember. These words can be described as reassuring. If it wasn't for Chen Daoxuan's talent that shocked Wuhe Tianzuan, in his capacity, he would definitely not have said these words. Chen Daoxuan's expression froze, and he said solemnly, "Dao Xian, remember." Wuhe Tianzuan nodded. "What else do you want to ask now?" Hearing this, Chen Daoxuan's eyes lit up. The one in front of him is the top small group of powerhouses in the human race. It can be said that the secrets of the human race and the demons, this one only knows, there are far more secrets than him. But what Qingdao Xian wanted to know most was the information about the world demon. The existence of the world demon is always a big stone in the heart of the human race. Tianzuan, I want to know how strong the world demon is. How strong is the demon? Wuhe Tianzan's eyes were complicated, and he shook his head. To be honest, I don't know how strong the real demon is, I only know that there are 4 major demon domains in the real demon world. These 4 demon realms are actually the 4 realms that divide the power of the real world monsters. You should know that the division of the real world monsters is based on their strength. In this regard, the world monster is even more naked than my human race. Chen Daoxian nodded. Wan Xinghai has several channels for world demons. Chen Daoxian does not know everything about the situation of world demons, but he does know a little bit. These 4 demon domains are the sacred ancient demon domain, the greedy wolf demon domain, the barbarian demon domain, and the wasteland demon domain with the most low-level demons. Hearing the wasteland demon domain, Chen Daoxuan's eyes narrowed slightly. The four big demon kingdoms opposite the Wangxinghai True Demon Realm passage are located in the Wilderness Demon Realm, and these four big demon kingdoms are just a few insignificant little demon kingdoms in the Wasteland Demon Realm. Unexpectedly, even the Wasteland Demon Realm is the lowest level demon realm in the True Demon Realm. No wonder Chen Daoxian didn't find too many high-level world monsters in the Wasteland Demon Realm, but in the battlefield outside the realm, the real Monarch level and even Daojun level world monsters were only ordinary combat power. Wuhe Tianzuan continued to introduce, at present, the biggest enemy of my human race is the demon court in the real demon world. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but ask, Tianzuan, since the real demon world is so complicated, can the demon court dominate the real demon world? Can. Wuhe Tianzuan affirmed, you have no idea how strong the Emperor of Yaoting is. Chen Daoxian opened his mouth, but did not speak after all. Obviously, the demon court emperor must be a true immortal level world demon, and he is also a very powerful true immortal level world demon. On the side of the human race, the strongest person who can do it is nothing but the Heavenly Venerate Transcendence Heavenly Venerate, who can compete with the true immortal level world demon. If it weren't for the human race, Tianzuan City and other main cities, they would not be able to hold it long ago. Even so, if Yaoting ignores it and goes all out to attack the human race line of defense, the human race will probably not be able to withstand it. But in this way, the strength of the demon court will also be seriously consumed, thus making wedding dresses for other forces in the real demon world. Therefore, Yaoting chose to settle the inside first, and then fight against the outside. From a decision-making point of view, there is nothing wrong with Yaoting's approach. Once the real demon world is unified by the demon court, the human race will face the entire real demon world. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian felt his scalp tingle. When he was weak at first, he had thought about using industrially produced instruments to disrupt the real demon world. Now that he thinks about it, he is still too naive. In his eyes, the huge wasteland demon realm is only the weakest demon realm in the real demon realm, and the remaining sacred ancient demon realm, wolf-greedy demon realm, and man's demon realm are even stronger than one. It is undoubtedly a dream to want to sell the magic weapon to the world demon of the ancient demon domain and let it resist the demon court. According to Wuhe Tianzuan, the demon court has already occupied an absolute advantage in the real demon world, and the unification of the real demon world is only a matter of time. He now runs to the real demon world to stir up the situation, which is equivalent to hitting the muzzle of the demon court. You must know that even the human race only dares to defend the city in the face of the demon court, not to mention Chen Daoxian's Northern Immortal League. Tianzuan, I would like to know more information about Yaoting. We don't know how many powerhouses Yaoting has. We only know that the strongest person in Yaoting is also the leader of Yaoting, and he is the emperor of Yaoting, while the other real fairy-level monsters are collectively called emperors. You must have seen it in Yaoguang City. Chen Daoxian nodded. Wuhe Tianzuan continued, as for Tianzuan-level world demons, they are called divine generals by Yaoting. The number of divine generals in Yaoting is extremely large, and they are also the mainstay of Yaoting. As for the Daojuan-level world demon and the true monarch-level world demon, in Yaoting's eyes, they are cannon fodder. Are all Daojuan-level demons cannon fodder? Chen Daoxian was stunned. Yes, cannon fodder. Wuhe Tianzuan has complicated eyes. Indeed, for human cultivators, Daojuan-level powerhouses are already second only to Heavenly Venerate. But to Yaoting, it's just high-level cannon fodder. It is conceivable that the strength of Yaoting is much stronger than that of the human race. Chen Daoxian couldn't help but think that if the human cultivator hadn't relied on the immortal city and formation left by the ancient real immortals, it is estimated that they would have been exterminated by the world monsters long ago. Seeing Chen Daoxian's heavy face, Wuhe Tianzuan smiled and said, "Okay, you don't have to put too much pressure. Even if the final fate of the human race in the Phoenix meteor world is destruction, it is only the branch of the human race that is destroyed. Looking at the whole world, my human race is still the protagonist of heaven and earth." Speaking of this, there is an indescribable pride in Wuhe Tianzuan's words. Although the monks of the Phoenix meteor realm only knew the existence of the heavens and the myriad realms in the ancient books, this did not prevent them from understanding the glory of the human race. It is also with this unyielding arrogance that the human monks of Fengyun realm can support hundreds of thousands of years. Otherwise, the morale of the human race would have collapsed long ago after being trapped for so long. Chen Daoxian didn't know how he got back to the abyss. Only when Luo Li called him did Chen Daoxian come back to his senses completely. "What's the matter? You look like you're not letting go." Luo Li was concerned. "Fine," Chen Daoxian smiled, "I'm thinking about fighting for a place." Hearing this, Luo Li exclaimed, "I believe that Lang Chen will definitely get what he wants." Then borrow the lattice auspicious words. The two laughed a little. Chen Daoxian and Luo Li went into retreat. It was a rare opportunity. Luo Li accompanied Chen Daoxian to break through to the realm of creation, which delayed a lot of time to practice in the abyss. Naturally, he had to hurry up. As for Chen Daoxian, there is a more important thing to do, that is to practice astral technique. To be honest, the most difficult part for Chen Daoxian to cultivate the astrology is no longer the esoteric level of this immortal art, but the lack of pure yang immortal sword. Although the human race has mastered many immortal weapons left over from the ancient times, but with 1,800 pure yang fairy swords, Chen Daoxian dares to guarantee that even if the human race takes out the old foundation, it will not be able to come up with so many. Therefore, Chen Daoxian has been thinking about workarounds, or alternatives. According to the records in astral art, the function of the pure yang fairy sword is only transformed into stars, and finally the power of Zhou Tian stars is gathered and reflected on Chen Daoxian himself. If this technique is successful, even if it is just a first glimpse of the door, Chen Daoxian can gather the power of 1,800 pure yang fairy swords on himself. With the power of 1,800 pure yang immortal artifacts, Chen Daoxian could hardly imagine how powerful it would be. However, although he was envious of the terrifying strength after successfully cultivating the astral technique, he knew more clearly that he couldn't come up with so many pure yang fairy swords. Therefore, Chen Daoxian was thinking about whether he could use other instruments to replace the fairy sword. After all, according to the statement in astral art, the immortal sword is just a carrier. Since it is a carrier, it should be able to be replaced. Moreover, it is difficult to say how powerful the power of using the fairy sword to be transformed into stars is, to be honest. Magical instruments, including immortal instruments, can only burst with terrifying power when controlled by monks. Although the pure yang immortal artifact is extremely powerful when it is not controlled by monks, it is very different from the immortal power injected by monks. But another special magic weapon is different. Even if it is not controlled by a cultivator, it can burst out terrifying power. This magic weapon is nothing else, it is Chen Daoxian's insect soldier. That's right, Taoist soldiers, strictly speaking, are also a special kind of magic weapon, but only a magic weapon with wisdom. If the insect soldier is used as a carrier of stars, can it replace the pure yang immortal sword and gather 1,800 Zhou Tian stars? Of course, all this is just Chen Daoxian's guess. If you change the star carrier, many things will also change, and even the original formation will need to be adjusted. But these, Chen Daoxian is not afraid. No matter how profound things are, as long as there is a solution, he is not afraid. This is the confidence brought to him by the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. If you change to other monks, you probably wouldn't even think about it. You must know that Chen Daoxian's behavior is to modify an immortal art that directly points to the avenue. And listening to the tone of the Taoist in white, Chen Daoxian knew that the origin of this immortal technique was extremely high. This moment, Chen Daoxian struggled fiercely in his heart. There are only two chances to inherit the astral technique, and he has to rely on these two inheritances to successfully modify it into another version, and it is not finished. Whether or not this immortal art can be left in the end is the key. It was because of the inheritance of the astral art that Chen Daoxian knew that the so-called three inheritance opportunities were also a test of whether a cultivator could obtain this immortal art. Once the cultivator is unable to practice the astral art after three inheritances, he will forget this spell forever. This is also where Chen Daoxian is most confused. He didn't know whether cultivating the astral technique modified by him could be regarded as a successful entry. If it doesn't count, all the memories of this immortal art in his sea of consciousness will be deleted, but the gains will outweigh the losses. Fight! Chen Daoxian finally made up his mind and decided to give it a shot. No way, after learning the terrifying strength of the world demon, Chen Daoxian felt even more urgency in his heart. There is no shortage of low-level monks in the human race. What the human race really lacks is the top powerhouse. Tianzuan sticks to the main city and the Acropolis, but it is barely enough, but he cannot take the initiative to attack. Chen Daoxian wants to be the first person who can take the initiative to attack Yaoting. Thinking of this, he took out a gourd magic weapon and sank his consciousness into it. Next moment. In the gourd cave, one insect soldier appeared in his sight. After so many years, the more than 5,000 insect soldiers in his hands had already devoured the corpses of more than 30 million world demons. Looking around, the insect soldiers in the gourd cave heaven are all 5-star insect soldiers at the lowest level, which is equivalent to the level of the 5th layer Dao Jun in the world. As for the strongest ones, it was the 6-star worm soldiers who emerged from the worm chrysalis. That's right, although these 6-star insect soldiers failed to exert their power in Yaoguang City, they broke out of the chrysalis during the years of Chen Daoxuan's retreat and cultivation. Moreover, due to the devouring of 30 million high-level world demons, the number of 6-star insect soldiers in Chen Daoxuan's hands has reached more than 2,110. It can be said that with the strength of this insect soldier, Chen Daoxian dared to challenge Wuhe Tianzuan. More than 2,100 creation realm Dao Jun, high-level Tianzuan met, it is estimated that they have to take a detour. Of course, the premise is that the high-level Tianzuan chooses to fight recklessly with the insect soldiers. But if the other party chooses to kill Chen Daoxian, the insect soldier controller, the situation will be completely different. There is no special means to limit the speed of the high-level Tianzuan, and it is almost impossible for the 6th-order insect soldiers to besiege a high-level Tianzuan. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian insists on improving his own strength. Blindly relying on external forces, it is easy to be eliminated by the enemy's decapitation tactics. 6-star insect soldiers, I don't know if they can act as a carrier of stars. If they can succeed, this is the power of 1,800 creators of the realm of Taoism in one person. Chen Daoxian muttered. With his current strength, even if he played all his cards, he wouldn't dare to say that he could win a few worm soldiers. And relying on the 6-star insect soldiers to start the practice of astral technique, he will instantly obtain the power blessing of 1,800 6-star insect soldiers, and it is a perfect power blessing. What is this concept? What secret method, magic weapon, which monk of the same rank can withstand Chen Daoxian, who is blessed by the power of 1,800 Daijins of creation realm? It is estimated that he will not need any secret magic weapon at that time, and he will be able to crush all enemies with just an ordinary punch. That's the horror of astrology, and it's just entry-level astrology. Wanting to fight this, Chen Daoxian became even hotter in his heart. He must succeed in cultivating this technique, perhaps, this will become his final card to turn things around. In the Sea of Knowledge. The huge ball of light representing the astral technique floats quietly in the depths of the Sea of Knowledge. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness was on this ball of light, and suddenly, the second inheritance of astral technique rushed towards him like a tide. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 496. This time, Chen Daoxian was well prepared and used the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic to increase his understanding to 300 times the original. This is the first time Chen Daoxian has raised his comprehension to such a terrifying level. In the Sea of Knowledge. The comprehension stars are madly consumed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chen Daoxian estimated that this giant comprehension star will be completely consumed in a maximum of 1 stick of incense. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian did not dare to delay. Quickly comprehend that astrology. According to the inheritance, the cultivation of astral art is divided into 3 steps. The first step is to make 1,800 thoughts into 1,800 pure yang fairy swords. Since Chen Daoxian planned to replace the Chunyang immortal sword with 6-star insect soldiers, he integrated 1,800 thoughts into 1,800 6-star insect soldiers. This step is the easiest step in astral art. Chen Daoxian can know the specific method of integrating his thoughts without careful comprehension. He has done it before, and he will do it again this time, but he is familiar with it. The second step of astral art is much more difficult. If you want to practice the second step, you must have a preliminary understanding of the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, and arrange the 1,800 6-star insect soldiers that have been integrated into the mind and arrange them in the stars kendo diagram according to the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. The most difficult part of this step is to comprehend the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. Although it is only a preliminary understanding, it is a difficult task for a creator realm Taoist, and it is even impossible to complete. The Zhou Tianxing de Great Array is one of the best in the world, and the only thing that can be compared with it is the Heavenly Sect Master's Immortal Execution Sword Array. But the Immortal Execution Sword formation was performed by a saint, and it was fundamentally different from the Zhou Tianxing de Great Formation. And if you want to fully comprehend the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, you must be a quasi-sage to be sure. As for Chen Daoxian, he is still 108,000 miles away. However, the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array recorded in the astral technique is obviously simplified by a powerful cultivator, and the inheritor can understand it step by step, instead of directly comprehending the complete Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. In this way, Chen Daoxian had the possibility to get started. Otherwise, even if he has the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, he will never be able to penetrate the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. In this second inheritance, Chen Daoxian's key goal was to comprehend the Zhou Tianxing Great Array. Since Chen Daoxian's comprehension was only 100 times his own when Wan Xinghai accepted the inheritance of astral technique for the first time, plus his lack of cultivation at that time, the first inheritance was largely influenced by him. Wasted. However, Chen Daoxian has mastered the key to integrating his thoughts into the 6-star insect soldier, and he has accumulated a certain advantage. This time, he only needs to do his best to successfully comprehend the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, and then he will be considered to have achieved his goal. Under the blessing of 300 times of comprehension, the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, which was originally so complicated and esoteric that the monks would be dizzy, actually became organized in the eyes of Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian had long been prepared for this phenomenon. However, the time he was able to maintain his comprehension this time was not long, and he did not dare to delay, and directly realized the Zhou Tianxing de formation. The second inheritance of astral art lasted 3 days in total, which was much longer than the first inheritance. This also means that Chen Daoxian can use 300 times the state of comprehension to comprehend the 3-day star battle array. If it is impossible to get started, Chen Daoxian also recognizes it. Soon, the time for a stick of incense passed. Chen Daoxian withdrew from a state of 300 times his comprehension, and at the moment when his comprehension declined, the originally clear and orderly formation turned into an incomparably complicated crow in his eyes. What is this? Chen Daoxian looked at the intricate ghost painting talisman in front of him, and it was hard to imagine that he felt that the formation was organized just now. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian no longer delays, and decisively absorbs the chaos qi in the origin bead. As the qi of chaos was transformed into the comprehension stardust by the golden scriptures in the sea of knowledge, and finally the comprehension stardust condensed into a huge star. At this point, Chen Daoxian can display his 300-fold comprehension state again. As the 300-fold comprehension state was stimulated, the ghost talisman in Chen Daoxian's eyes became clear and organized again. That's right. Chen Daoxian sighed and continued to comprehend with his heart. Time passed slowly. Soon, 2 days passed. Before the abyss. Chen Daoxian suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes were full of joy. Zhou Tianxing do Great Array finally got started. No wonder he was so delighted. You must know that this formation is the Zhou Tianxing de formation known as the first formation in the Great Desolation. It can also be seen from this that the person who created the fairy art of astrology has a lot of background. Not to mention other things, Zhou Tianxing de Great Array is not something ordinary people can get, let alone simplify it. There is only one possibility that Chen Daoxian can think of. Shaking his head, throwing the miscellaneous thoughts out of his mind, and initially comprehend the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, it does not mean the entry of astral art. If you want to get started with the practice of astrology, you have to pass the third level, which is also the most difficult level, that is, to transmit the power of 1,800 insect soldiers to yourself through the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. This is not a simple matter. In other words, with Chen Daoxuan's current physical body, this is simply impossible. Chen Daoxuan's current cultivation base is the Daojun of the creation realm. Although his flesh is much stronger than when he first entered the Yuanqian period, it is far from being able to withstand the projection of the power of 1800 Daojun of the creation realm. Therefore, the third step of this astral technique is to develop the acupoints of the physical body and transform them into a large array of stars. To put it simply, it is to develop the acupoints and form the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array. According to the expression in the body training method, there are endless acupoints in the human body, and each orifice is like a star. However, the acupoints that monks can usually use are very limited, so there is no need to develop them too much. For example, since Chen Daoxian began to refine his qi, he only penetrated all the meridians of his body, and after that, he rarely lit the acupoints of his body. It was not impossible, but unnecessary. After lighting up the 1800 orifices in the body, the most critical step is to set the stars. The Zhou Tianxing Du in the stars kendo diagram is listed in the 1800 orifices of the flesh body, and supplemented by the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, which perfectly undertakes this terrifying power. After completing this step, astrology can be regarded as a real introduction. After Chen Daoxian accepted the second inheritance of astral technique, he only remembered the positions of all the acupoints of the flesh body. It is not difficult for the current Chen Daoxian to open up the acupoints of the flesh body. For him, the really difficult step was to use the acupoints of the flesh to withstand the power of the 1,800 six-star insect soldiers in the star kendo diagram. You know, this is the power of 1,800 creators of the realm of Taoism. Chen Daoxuan's move was as incredible as a mortal carrying the weight of 1,800 people. This step can be said not only to test Chen Daoxuan's understanding, but also to test his Taoism. Without an unshakable Tao heart, no cultivator would dare to take such a risk. In the next days, accompanied by Luo Li, Chen Daoxian continued to open up the acupoints of his body. In less than a month, all 1,800 orifices were lit up by him. Closing his eyes and looking inside, the 1,800 orifices are like 1,800 stars, all over his body. Opening his eyes, Chen Daoxian looked at Luo Li not far from him. As it happened, Luo Li also opened his eyes if he felt something. Feeling Chen Daoxuan's gaze, Luo Li turned her head slightly and said with a smile, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Chen Daoxian shook his head, "I just want to take a good look at you." Luo Li was a little embarrassed by Chen Daoxuan's sudden love words. Just when she wanted to say something, Chen Daoxian said again, "I have to retreat once." "Shut up again." Luo Li frowned slightly. "Yes, the secret technique of this retreat is very important for me to strive for a place in the Transcendence Tribulation period." Hearing that it was related to the competition for places, Luo Li immediately stopped talking and said in support, "Okay, I will protect the law for you." "Need not," Chen Daoxian shook his head, "I will go to Xianhuang realm to retreat, and you will practice well here." Hearing this, although Luo Li was reluctant, he still supported him and said, "Well, don't worry, I will cultivate well and live up to your expectations." Chen Daoxian nodded. Immediately, the figure disappeared in front of Luo Li. Looking at Ai Lang's departure, Luo Li's eyes flashed with reluctance, and then he turned reluctance into motivation and continued to comprehend the Dao Yin of the abyss. Xianhuang world. Chen Daoxuan's figure reappeared over the North Sea. Standing above the clouds, overlooking the North Sea, Chen Daoxian discovered that the mermaid family in the sea has grown to thousands of scales. Although it is not worth mentioning when looking at the North Sea, with the spirituality of the mermaid family, this race will sooner or later become the overlord in the North Sea. He will even become the ocean overlord of the entire Xianhuang realm. Of course, this presupposes that Chen Daoxian does not immigrate to the Xianhuang realm as a human cultivator. Otherwise, in the hands of the human race monks, the so-called spiritual race of the mermaid race is just a smarter fish, and they have not even evolved their language functions. Communication between races relies more on simple howls. After watching for a while, Chen Daoxian lost interest in this race he created by himself. He came to the Xianhuang realm, naturally not to pay attention to this trivial human race, but to practice the astral technique. Nowadays, the cultivation of astral technique has reached the most critical step. The 1800 thoughts have all been integrated into the 6-star insect soldiers, and these 6-star insect soldiers are all arranged in the magic weapon of the star kendo map. It is worth mentioning that, with the integration of 1,800 6-star Taoist soldiers into the star kendo map, originally taken out of the 5 elements law, the rank of the stars fell to the 6th rank low-grade magic weapon, and the rank has skyrocketed again, and it has become a high-grade fairy weapon. This is also the first fairy artifact owned by Chen Daoxian. Although the Xingqian Kendo map also has a pure yang atmosphere, it can only be regarded as an incomplete fairy weapon, and its rank is only equivalent to a 6th-order magic weapon. But now, the Star Kendo map has become a top-grade fairy weapon. You must know that this rank fairy weapon, even if you look at the Phoenix Meteor Realm and the True Demon Realm, are the top fairy tools. Although there are many immortal artifacts in the Chuanbao Pavilion, there is not a single high-grade immortal artifact. Immortal artifacts of this rank are generally in the hands of the 8 Tribulations Heavenly Venerate, such as the Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate. Otherwise, how can any Tianzuan be able to match the real immortal-level world demon with Tianzan's cultivation base? Of course, although the Xingqian Kendo map has been promoted to a high-grade fairy weapon, for Chen Daoxian, he can't use it now. The reason is that after 1,800 6-star insect soldiers formed the Zhou Tian Xingdo Great Array, the Xingqian Kendo map was completely locked. Unless he uses the acupoints in his body to draw in the power of 1,800 6-star insect soldiers, no one can use this fairy weapon. At this moment, Chen Daoxian finally understood that the Xingqian Kendo map was a fairy weapon specially prepared for astral art. Now that all the preparations have been completed, there is only the power to attract 1,800 insect soldiers. Chen Daoxian took a deep breath. He knew all too well how risky the move was, but he had no choice. The world demon will not give him any chance to back down. Either you die or I die. If that's the case, why not fight to the death? Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian's emotions rose like never before. It's just death. Chen Daoxian's eyes narrowed, and he immediately cast the astral technique to draw the power of the 1,800 6-star insect soldiers in the Star Kendo map. Moment. In the Star Kendo diagram, the 6-star insect soldiers turned into stars were lit up one by one. Finally, all 1,800 stars were lit up and formed an extremely complex array. If there are powerful cultivators here, they will definitely recognize that this formation is a simplified version of the Zhou Tianxingdu Great Formation. When the 1,800 stars were completely connected, an incomparably huge force was projected onto the Baihui point on the top of Chen Daoxian's head. Then, the Baihui point was completely lit up, but it was not over yet, and the force continued down the Baihui point. Soon, the 1,800 acupoints in Chen Daoxian's body were lit up by him one by one. At this point, the 1,800 6-star insect soldiers in the Xingqian Kendo diagram and the 1,800 orifices in Chen Daoxian's body formed a perfect circuit. Infinite power shuttles in this circuit. Chen Daoxian only felt that there was an explosive force surging in his body. This power is too strong. Chen Daoxian felt that at this moment, he could smash the entire Xianhuang realm into pieces with just one punch. Is this what it feels like to have the power of 1,800 creators of the realm of Taoism all in one? Chen Daoxian murmured, with this power, what other secrets and magic weapons do you need? Chen Daoxian couldn't help but have a word in his heart to prove the Tao with strength. No wonder there are monks who want to take the path of proving the way with strength. If other monks have this strength, they will also want to take this path. Because it's so cool to go this route. What kind of exercises? What spell? What fairy? All in one punch. After venting for a while, Chen Daoxian suppressed this unbridled emotion. Although his cultivation base is still the Daojun of creation realm at this moment, his strength has soared to a level that he can't even figure it out himself. He is not someone who hasn't seen the big scene. In fact, Chen Daoxian has seen Wuhe Tianzuan take action, and he has also seen Ini Tianzuan and the Demon Court Emperor fight. But now he feels that fighting at the level of Wuhe Tianzuan seems to be the same. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian was shocked. Immediately, he secretly warned himself not to be careless. How many monks are dying on the careless? He must not make this mistake. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 497. Guangyuan Realm. Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion. Chen Daoxian's figure appeared beside Luo Li again. Seeing Chen Daoxian, Luo Li, who was comprehending the Dao, immediately stood up and said in surprise, "Why did you retreat so quickly this time?" "Well, there are still some things missing in this secret technique." "Lack of something?" Luo Li looked puzzled. "I'm going to Chuanbao Pavilion, just to buy a batch of high-level Saint Yuan Dan for you." After this period of training and consumption, Luo Li's Saint Yuan Dan was basically exhausted. Even if there is leftovers, it is not enough to cope with her current cultivation. Purchasing a higher-grade Xingyuan pill is related to Luo Li's subsequent practice, so Chen Daoxian naturally did not dare to be sloppy. Hearing that he was going to visit the Chuanbao Pavilion together, Luo Li's face was full of excitement. It has been a long time since she went shopping with Chen Daoxian and tasted delicious food. This time Chen Daoxian actually offered to accompany her to go shopping. How could Luo Li not be happy? In fact, Luo Li knew in her heart that Chen Daoxian had too much on his back. He couldn't afford to lose, he had to keep running forward. She could understand. But understanding is understanding. It is impossible to say that there is no idea of letting Chen Daoxian accompany her in her heart. During this period of time, she retreated with Chen Daoxian, which was the day she had always dreamed of. Unexpectedly, Chen Daoxian took the initiative to ask her to go shopping. Looking at Luo Li's excited little face, for some reason, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but feel a trace of guilt in his heart. To Luo Li, he was everything to her, but to Chen Daoxian, this was not the case. He gently pulled Luo Li's little hand and said warmly, "Let's go." Say it. The two of them flew out of the Tianzuan mansion with the escape light. This trip to Chuanbao Pavilion. Chen Daoxian is already familiar with the road. As a giant immortal city appeared in the field of vision, Luo Li's little face was full of surprise. This is the immortal city of Buddha, an entertainment immortal city at the foot of Tianzuan Mountain. Entertainment fairy city? Luo Li was a little confused. So Chen Daoxian explained to her about the fighting demon industry in the immortal city of Buddha, which made her stunned for a while. Seemingly aroused by Chen Daoxian's explanation, Luo Li suddenly hugged Chen Daoxian's arm tightly and said coquettishly, "Why don't we go to the demon fighting arena too?" As he said that, he looked at Chen Daoxian expectantly. If someone else said that, Chen Daoxian would definitely refuse without even thinking about it, but it was Luo Li who made this request, and Chen Daoxian couldn't say anything if he refused. He nodded and smiled and said, "Okay, let's go take a look. I have long wanted to see what the charm of this fighting demon is, and it can attract so many cultivators." Having said that, Chen Daoxian still scoffed at Dou Yao's behavior. He has experienced the super-large demon wave, just fighting demons. In his eyes, what is the difference between playing a house and a child? But if Luo Li wanted to see it, Chen Daoxian couldn't bear to refuse. Luo Li laughed happily, her little head kept nodding. Husband is the best. Luo Li seldom called Chen Daoxian her husband, and most of them called him Chen Lang. It seemed that she was really happy this time. Seeing her so happy, Chen Daoxian immediately felt that everything was worth it. The two were joking. soon came to the branch of the Chuanbao Pavilion. The one who received him this time was the man dressed as a scholar last time. But Chen Daoxian knew that this scholar was not a monk, but a Taoist soldier. Luo Li also knew the traditions of the Chuanbao Pavilion, and was not surprised by the Taoist soldiers receiving them. "Fellow Taoist, fairy, you are being polite." When the scholar saw Chen Daoxian, he immediately bowed to him or Luolai. Chen Daoxian nodded and said bluntly, "I want to buy something." "I don't know what you want to buy this time." Seeing Chen Daoxian so straightforward, the scholar's tone was even more excited. "This time I want 3 things, the golden crow fragment, the Saint Yuan pill used by the Yuaning cultivator, and the immortal artifact." When Chen Daoxian mentioned the first 2 treasures, the scholar still smiled, but when he mentioned the last fairy weapon, the scholar's face suddenly became serious. "Do you want to buy a fairy weapon?" The student's face was so serious that Chen Daoxian couldn't help but ask, "What's the matter? Didn't you say that you can buy immortal artifacts from the Chuanbao Pavilion?" "You can buy it if you can, but fellow Taoists have to prove their identity." "Prove your identity?" Chen Daoxian frowned. He had never bought an immortal weapon, so he didn't know that he had to prove his identity when he bought an immortal weapon. But it also makes sense to think about it. Immortal artifacts, when they fall into the hands of a true immortal-level world demon, can greatly enhance the opponent's strength. The human race strictly controls it, and it seems that there is no problem. Reading a scholar is not like a joke, Chen Daoxian thought for a while, and said solemnly, "I am from Wuhe Tianzuan Palace. Here, nothing can prove his identity more than a high-level heavenly venerate." Hearing that Chen Daoxian was from the Wuhe Tianzuan mansion, the scholar was taken aback and immediately cupped his hands. "Fellow Taoist, please wait. Please." After saying that, the scholar instantly disappeared in front of Chen Daoxian and Luo Li. "Where did he go?" Lori asked curiously. "If I guessed correctly, I must have confirmed my identity." Chen Daoxian was brought back to Tianzuan mansion by Wuhe Tianzuan personally. Regarding his identity, Wuhe Tianzuan also assigned him to Wuhe Tianzuan mansion. If outsiders investigate, they can only find out that Chen Daoxian is the descendant of Wuhe Tianzuan. As for other information, they can't find out at all. Chuanbao Pavilion is also considered to be very powerful. About a cup of tea, the scholar hurried back. Next to the scholar this time, there is also a human race creator realm Daojun, who must be a high-level person in the Chuanbao Pavilion. "Fellow Taoist, under Mo Qianfan, dare to ask the name of your friend." Mo Qianfan was dressed as a middle-aged cultivator. From the outside, it was impossible to tell that this ordinary middle-aged cultivator was actually a Taoist creator who was only 1 step away from the heavenly venerate. Chen Daoxian. It turned out to be fellow Taoist Chen, "You are polite." After the greeting was over, Mo Qianfan continued, "Don't blame fellow Taoists. In order to prevent the immortal artifact from being acquired by the demons, my human race has strict control over the sale of immortal artifact." Chen Daoxian nodded understandingly, "I know, I don't mean to blame fellow Taoist." Hearing this, Mo Qianfan breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Daoxian's cultivation base and origin made him think of the once-in-millennium opportunity that is coming in Guangyuan realm. If he guessed correctly, this person must be one of Wuhe Tianzan's candidate seeds. In other words, the person standing in front of him is very likely to be a heavenly venerate in the near future. God! That is the pinnacle of human existence. Even if the strength of Tianzuan who just broke through is not much stronger than that of the creator Daojun, if Tianzuan masters the fairy weapon, the combat power is still far beyond that of the creator Daojun. Because after the cultivator broke through to the transcending tribulation period, the mana was eroded by the pure yang power of thunder tribulation, and it already had certain characteristics of immortal power. Therefore, the use of immortal tools by Tianzuan Dujie is much stronger than that of the creator of the realm. Presumably, this is also the reason why this cultivator named Chen Daoxian bought the immortal artifact. Mo Qianfan thought to himself. Fellow Taoist will understand. Mo Qianfan paused, "I don't know what kind of fairy utensils you want to buy. Although we don't have many fairy utensils in Chuanbao Pavilion, we definitely have the most complete variety." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian didn't understand and asked, "Friend Imo, I don't know much about immortal artifacts, so I wonder if you can help me out." Imo Qianfan smiled and nodded, "Of course you can. Immortal artifacts are divided into grades, which can be roughly divided into high-grade artifacts, middle-grade artifacts, and low-grade artifacts. Immortal artifacts left over from ancient times, including those refined by our human race now, are mostly low-grade artifacts." Wait, you just said, the immortal artifact that the human race is refining now? Can my human race make immortal artifact now? Chen Daoxian was really surprised. For a long time, he thought that the human race had lost the ability to refine immortal artifacts, but he did not expect that the human race could actually refine immortal artifacts. This was far beyond his expectations. Of course it can be refined, otherwise fellow Taoist thinks that my Chuanbao pavilion can be so extravagant as to sell the most exquisite ancient immortal artifact at will? Makes sense. Chen Daoxian had always had doubts before, since it was rumored that immortal artifacts could not be refined. Why could Chuanbao Pavilion still sell immortal artifacts? You must know that since Chuanbao Pavilion can sell immortal artifacts for a long time, it proves that there are monks who buy it for a long time. This is not a one-shot deal, but a long-term supply. This means that Chuanbao Pavilion must have a stable channel for goods. Thinking about it this way, the only explanation is that the human race can refine fairy artifacts. Although Chen Daoxian really wanted to ask how Chuanbao Pavilion refined the immortal artifacts, people would definitely not say such secrets. It's like when someone asks him the method of refining insect soldiers, he won't say it. Mo Qianfan smiled and continued, "The fairy weapon is the same as the magic weapon. According to its function, it can also be divided into offensive, defensive, and other special types." Chen Daoxian kept nodding his head. Generally speaking, a cultivator who has just broken through to the tribulation transcendent stage controls a low-grade immortal artifact, and it is already very reluctant. For monks, it is not that the more immortal weapons, the stronger the strength that can be exerted. In fact, the immortal artifact was not used by the Heavenly Venerate, at least not for the low-level Heavenly Venerate. If you want to truly exert the power of immortal artifacts, you must at least be high-level Heavenly Venerates like Wuha Heavenly Venerate and Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate. Therefore, a cultivator who has just broken through the tribulation transcendence period will be able to use a low-grade immortal artifact. Since you can only choose one low-grade immortal weapon, it is a good choice. Almost all cultivators who have just broken through to the tribulation period will choose offensive low-grade immortal artifacts. Of course, Chen Daoxian was no exception. He immediately said, "Then introduce me to an offensive low-grade fairy weapon." "It is good." Mo Qianfan nodded. "The price of commonly used offensive low-grade immortal artifacts ranges from 10 million drops of the power of creation to 100 million drops of the power of creation. The specific price depends on the quality of the immortal artifacts." Chen Daoxian nodded. Even if it is a magical weapon of the same rank, the quality is different and the price is different, there is nothing to say. It's just that the price range is from 10 million to 100 million drops of the power of creation, and Chen Daoxian is still a little surprised. It's not that the price is expensive, but that the quality of the immortal artifacts is a bit different. You must know that the immortal artifact he wants to buy is only a low-grade immortal artifact, not a mid-grade or high-grade artifact. Also ask fellow Taoists to present all the inferior immortal artifacts in your pavilion. Hearing this, Mo Qianfan gave Chen Daoxian a deep look, and cupped his hands, "Fellow Taoist later." If it weren't for Chen Daoxian's cultivation base and identity, others would have slapped him out of the door long ago if they dared to say such arrogant words. But Chen Daoxian really didn't feel that he was arrogant. You must know that he still holds more than 900 million fortune powers in his hands. After so many years, the Chen family has refined how many fortune powers? It is said that Chuanbao Pavilion's earning power is second to none in the inner territory, but Chen Daoxian felt that compared with the Chen family, it was really hard to say. Compared with these top powers, the only difference between the Chen family and these top powers is in the background, not the difference in the ability to make money. The Chen family uses industry to refine the power of good fortune. This kind of power looks at the entire human race. Which power can compare? This time, Chen Daoxian waited longer. After a stick of incense. This time the scholar has disappeared, and only two people are left walking towards Chen Daoxian and the others. One of them is naturally Mo Qian Fan, the Taoist of the creation realm, and the other is actually a heavenly venerate transcendence. This is the third heavenly venerate that Chen Daoxian has seen. This is the cultivation base of this heavenly venerate. Compared with Wuha heavenly venerate and Silver Wing heavenly venerate, they are far away. They are just a three tribulations heavenly venerate. Although he is only the second robbery, he is the most peak existence of the human race, and his identity is there after all. It's just that Chen Daoxian didn't expect that this Guanyuan realm still has the three tribulations Tianzuan left behind. He thought that after the cultivators broke through to the tribulation period, they all rushed to the front line to sit in Xiancheng. Seemingly seeing Chen Daoxian's doubts, the three tribulations heavenly venerate looked him up and down and said with a smile, "Are you the cultivator chosen by Wuha heavenly venerate this time?" Chen Daoxian glanced at Mo Qian Fan. He knew this was a secret that was not a secret. Simply, Chen Daoxian admitted generously, "Exactly." Knowing that the three tribulations heavenly venerate nodded, "I am the same as you, except that I was the one who got the chance last time." In a few words, the three tribulations heavenly venerate immediately brought the relationship between the two closer. Under Chen Daoxian, I have seen Tianzuan. What Tianzuan is not Tianzuan, my name is Xu Fang, if you want, just call me by my name. Chen Daoxian could hear the friendship in the other party's words. But it's not surprising when you think about it. Speaking of which, he, like Xu Fang, will become a heavenly venerate sooner or later. Isn't it normal for one heavenly venerate to befriend another heavenly venerate? Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian also put down his guard and cupped his hands. "I have seen brother Xu Fang." "Okay." Xu Fang laughed and said, "Brother Chen, I brought you all the fairy artifacts you asked for." Saying that, Xu Fang waved his hand directly. Immediately, three low-grade fairy artifacts appeared in front of Chen Daoxian. "I only have these three immortal artifacts in my pavilion. If Brother Chen wants to choose, I have to apply to the general pavilion, but you will have to wait for a while." Chen Daoxian shook his head, "Just pick from these three." "It is good." Bu Fang nodded. The three immortal weapons he brought, although in style, were two pure young immortal swords and a cyan small axe. But in general, it covers the three grades of low-grade fairy artifact from low to high. Among the three immortal artifacts, the lowest quality is a pure young immortal sword, which is priced at 10 million drops of the power of creation. The one with a higher quality is another pure young immortal sword, priced at 50 million drops of the power of creation. And the highest quality is the cyan small axe, which is worth a full 100 million power of creation. Even if Xu Fang fetched the immortal artifact from the main pavilion, the highest grade low-grade immortal artifact was only a cyan small axe. Chen Daoxian didn't even look at the two pure yang swords, and directly set his eyes on the cyan small axe. After looking at the cyan small axe for a while, he turned to look at Xu Fang, pointed at it and asked, "Brother Xu Fang, what is the price of this fairy weapon?" "Ha, Brother Chen has good eyesight, he picked out the treasure of my pavilion at a glance." He paused and raised a finger. "This axe is called the Heaven Shaking Axe, and it costs 100 million drops of the power of creation. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 498. 1 billion power of creation. When Chen Daoxian heard the price, he couldn't help but look at the cyan hatchet again. This cyan small axe is neither golden nor jade. If it weren't for the pure yang breath it exudes, no one would have thought that this is a pure yang fairy weapon. Speaking of which, this is the third pure yang immortal artifact that Chen Daoxian has seen. At present, the highest grade pure yang immortal artifact he has come into contact with is his star kendo diagram, which is a high-grade immortal artifact. As for the Emperor Yu Bell in the hands of concubine Qinxue, it was just an ordinary low-grade fairy weapon. From this, you can imagine how terrifying the current star kendo map is. Chen Daoxian took the sky-shaking axe from Xu Fang and immediately injected a mana into it. Who would have guessed that with the mana of his creator, Dao Jun, entering the sky-shaking axe was like mud into the sea, and disappeared instantly. This. Chen Daoxian frowned. Seeing Chen Daoxian's confusion, Xu Fang explained, "This is the fairy weapon. Compared with the ordinary magic weapon, the pure yang fairy weapon is difficult to activate with mana. If the monk wants to use ordinary magic power to activate it, he must pay for it. 100 times 1,000 times the mana. This is also the reason why most cultivators only use immortal weapons after they have reached the tribulation transcendent stage." After such an explanation, Chen Daoxian was immediately stunned. That's right, the difficulty of urging the Emperor Yes Bell is outrageous. It stands to reason that even if the mana of the Yuanian cultivator is far inferior to that of the Yuanshan Dao Jun and the tribulation cultivator, it will not take hundreds of years to cultivate and can only use the power of Yu Huangzhong's blow. Even the monks of Qianyuan Jianzong want to use it, they must use the formation method and the power of the whole sect to do it. This is too exaggerated. Now, through Xu Fang's explanation, Chen Daoxian finally knew the reason why the pure yang immortal artifact consumes mana terribly, that is, the quality of the mana is not enough to act as a power source to activate the immortal artifact. Only immortal power can perfectly motivate immortal weapons. The mana of the monks in the tribulation period has already begun to transform into immortal power, which can initially activate the pure yang immortal artifact. This is also the reason why the strength of the cultivator is much stronger than that of the creator of the realm after the cultivator has the immortal artifact. However, his own mana is not enough. What about the use of star surgery? Chen Daoxian wanted to give it a try. But in front of everyone, he naturally wouldn't be reckless. Astrology is Chen Daoxian's biggest trump card at present, even the biggest trump card of the human race. Until the critical moment, Chen Daoxian will never use the constellation technique. Besides, once he uses the constellation technique, he doesn't need any sky-shaking axe, and it will be done with his fists. The power of the 1800 creators of the realm of Taoism is concentrated in him. Chen Daoxian feels that in terms of brute force, he is stronger than the 8 tribulations heavenly venerate. Maybe he can be tough with the Mahayana true immortal. After all, the magic of astral art is not something that should appear in the lower realm. Therefore, it is nothing to make the Dao Jun of the creation realm have a combat power comparable to that of the Mahayana true immortal. Okay, I bought this fairy. Chen Daoxian immediately made a decision. Brother Chen is so cool. Xu Fang raised a finger at him, speaking of which, the quality of this heaven-shaking axe is better than the immortal weapon I used, brother. If it wasn't for me, I would be willing to sell it to you. Chen Daoxian only regarded this as a polite remark, smiled and didn't answer. Soon. She conveniently ordered Mo Qianfan to prepare all the other 2 treasures that Chen Daoxian wanted. After taking the 2 storage rings handed over by Xu Fang, Chen Daoxian checked it, and after confirming that it was correct, he paid all the money. The 3 treasures cost Chen Daoxian a total of 140 million fortune-telling power. The Saint Yuan pill used by the Yuanian cultivator was nothing, and the remaining 40 million power of creation was mainly used to buy golden crow fragments. Most of the golden crow fragments come from the major relic worlds in Liangjian. Prices vary according to their size. Some golden crow fragments are only worth 1 million fortune power, while some can even exceed 100 million fortune power. But usually the value of the golden crow fragments hovers around the power of 1 million fortunes, and generally does not exceed the level of the power of 10 million fortunes. Chen Daoxian was lucky this time and bought a piece of golden crow worth 15 million fortune power. Inside the storage ring, the size of this golden crow fragment is obviously larger than the other golden crow fragments. Even if there is a special ban on Chuanbao Pavilion to imprison it, other golden crow shards are overshadowed by it. Chen Daoxian is buying immortal artifacts and golden crow fragments again, and his main purpose is of course to fight for this chance to cross the robbery. According to Wuhe Tianzuan. This time he prepared a total of 7 candidates, but there is only one place for the opportunity to cross the robbery. That is to say, Chen Daoxian has to defeat the other 6 Taoist creators in order to successfully get this spot. Sui said that this situation was a little different from what Wuhe Tianzuan said when he brought him to Guangyuan realm, but Chen Daoxian did not complain about him. The opportunity to cross the robbery. For any cultivator in the world, this is an elusive fate. And Wuhe Tianzuan gave them 7 people like this, and never asked for anything in return. This kind of behavior, Chen Daoxian couldn't even ask himself. For such a senior, what qualifications does Chen Daoxian have to ask for more? Choosing one of the 7 people is also to ensure that one can maximize the number of transcending tribulations heavenly venerate. Although the opportunity of transcending the robbery in Guangyuan realm can make creation realm reach the sky in one step, this kind of thing is not absolute. In history, there have been cases where the Daojun of the creation realm failed to transcend the calamity, so the heavenly venerates had to be cautious. The money and the goods are gone. Xu Fang and Imo Qianfan personally sent Chen Daoxian to the entrance of Chuanbao Pavilion. Brother Xu Fang, there is no need to send more. Chen Daoxian bowed his hands. Okay, then I'm here to congratulate Brother Chen on getting through the calamity as soon as possible. In the future, Brother Chen will open a mansion in Tianzuan Mountain. Be sure to invite me for a drink. Xu Fang is so cool. Must. Chen Daoxian said with a smile. Watching Chen Daoxian leave, Mo Qianfan said puzzled, why does Tianzuan value this person so much? As far as I know, Wuhe Tianzuan has always chosen a number of Taoist creators, and then let them compete. This Taoist friend may not be the final candidate. Xu Fang said with an expressionless face, this person will definitely get the spot this time. This. Mo Qianfan was even more puzzled. But Xu Fang didn't mean to explain, and walked straight towards the Chuanbao Pavilion. He would never tell Mo Qianfan that when he saw Chen Daoxian for the first time, he felt a sense of horror. Xu Fang knew that this was his spiritual warning. The high-level cultivator's mental early warning is extremely accurate, and he will not be warned for no reason. The only explanation is that this Chen Daoxian's real strength is even more terrifying than him. What is this concept? A Daojun of creation realm, his strength is actually stronger than his 3 tribulations heavenly venerate. This kind of character does not even want to take this opportunity to cross the robbery. If he continues to grow, he is afraid that he will be another silver wing heavenly venerate and ancient sword heavenly venerate. The human-like combat power ceiling. To be able to befriend this kind of character in advance, Xu Fang is naturally eager. You must know that with his cultivation, sooner or later, a fairy city that guards the human race will be released. At that time, in case of encountering a large-scale demon tide, you will have to rely on the top powerhouses like Silver Wing Tianzuan to rescue them. The human race's line of defense is extremely long, and there are many main cities and acropolis. Whether they can wait for rescue depends on the luck of Xiancheng's defense. At this time, if you have a good relationship with the top heavenly venerate who rescued him, maybe he will be rescued first. Just like the siege of Yaoguang's city last time, Ini Tianzuan rushed over immediately, because the intersection of Ini Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan was irreversible. In exchange for another ordinary heavenly venerate, although Silver Wing heavenly venerate would also go to the rescue, he would not be so active and desperate. This is a very fatal thing for Tianzuan who is in crisis. In view of this, the beam side will naturally invest in advance. At the step of Tianzuan, the road has basically come to an end. Unless the human race can defeat the real monsters and reverse the pattern of the real demon world engulfing the Phoenix meteor world, or the human race can upgrade the Guangyuan world to a world at the same level as the real monster world and the Phoenix meteor world. Otherwise, if you want to break through to the Mahayana true immortal, there is no hope at all. The road is hopeless. In addition to improving their own strength as much as possible, the Tianzuan can only develop human connections. To a certain extent, Wuhe Tianzuan is also a means to develop personal connections. Of course, Wuhe Tianzuan has no power behind him, otherwise he would not choose unfamiliar junior monks to cultivate, but would choose his own junior disciples. This is human nature, nothing wrong. Leave Chuanbao Pavilion. Only then did Luo Li breathe a sigh of relief, patted his chest and said, I feel that the heavenly venerates in Guangyuan realm are very kind. The 5 rivers heavenly venerate is like this, and so is this heavenly venerate named Shufang. Chen Daoxian shook his head, don't think that all heavenly venerates are kind, except that Wuha heavenly venerate is indeed a kind person, other heavenly venerates may not be like this. Luo Li is not stupid, Chen Daoxian reacted immediately. Indeed, if Chen Daoxian had the value of making friends, how could the dignified heavenly venerate of the human race call you brothers and sisters? Shaking his head, without thinking about these complicated issues, Luo Li excitedly said, now, should you accompany me to the demon fighting arena? It is good. Chen Daoxian looked at him dotingly. Although he had no interest in the demon fighting arena, it didn't prevent him from going around with Luo Li. The two of them drove the escape light and soon came to the largest demon fighting arena in the immortal city of Buddha. 2 worlds Buddha. Luo Li looked at the 7-story tower-shaped building in front of her and muttered the words on the plaque. Chen Daoxian knew that in the inner domain world, no building could be viewed from the surface, thanks to the popularity of Jie Yuanzhu. It can be said that not only the Guangyuan realm, but any building in the inner realm world has a unique interior. In Qianyuan, it seems to be very tall, but it has become a standard in this inner domain. The two stepped into the tower called the 2 realms Buddha. Immediately, it was as if he had traveled through, and he came to a world with different styles. Chen Daoxian's consciousness expanded a little, and he found out the size of this cave in an instant. It's just a cave created by a Taoist-level Jie Yuanzhu. It seems that the backstage of this demon fighting field is not very good. Chen Daoxian secretly said. Unlike Chuanbao Pavilion, even if it is a sub-pavilion of Chuanbao Pavilion, the inner cave world is built by a Jie Yuanzhu left by a heavenly venerate world demon. And the so-called first demon fighting field in the immortal city of Buddha seems a little less atmospheric. Of course, this is also related to the strength gap between the 2 sides. Chuanbao Pavilion is one of the top forces in the human race, and this demon fighting field is only known as the #1 demon fighting field in the Buddha Fairy City. No one else knows about this demon fighting field after leaving the Buddha Fairy City. Besides, this Buddha Immortal City was originally built for the entertainment of the descendants of Tianzun. Even if there is a background in this so-called first demon fighting field in the immortal city of Buddha, it is at most a background of the descendant of Tianzun. The descendants of Tianzun seem to be very intimidating. But the descendants of Tianzun who have been huddled in Tianzun Mountain for a long time are all people with poor talent, such as Sister Ran Lingxi. The truly outstanding descendants of Tianzun will never stay in Tianzun Mountain comfortably, not even in the inner world, but fight with the monsters in the outer battlefield. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian lacks interest in the demon fighting field. How can people who have seen the real battlefield be interested in the things that children play at home? However, Luo Li had never been to an extraterritorial battlefield, so it was a good thing for him to experience the world monsters fighting each other in advance. Enter the battle arena. Chen Daoxian called a servant and asked, do you still have the most recent battle of the demons? This little servant only has the cultivation base of Zifu. He looked at Chen Daoxian and Luo Li, and found that he could not see the cultivation base of the two, and his attitude immediately became respectful. Senior, our latest battle between world demons was in a month later. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian frowned. He didn't want to wait here for a month. Seeing Chen Daoxian frowning, Luo Li hesitated, otherwise, we should not watch it. Senior, although the battle between the world monsters is a month away, an hour later, there will be a duel between the monks and the world monsters. Speaking of this, the little servant raised his eyebrows. The cultivator fights with the world demon, presumably the senior has never seen it before. The battle between monks and demons is happening all the time on the battlefield outside the territory. Chen Daoxian suppressed his anger and said in a low tone. Suddenly being scolded by such a sentence, the young servant of the Zifu period was speechless. Glancing at him, Chen Daoxian also knew that he was just running errands, and this kind of thing was not something the other party could decide, so he said, "Give me a ticket." "Good, good." The servant nodded. The ticket price is divided into 3 classes: 1 drop of fortune power for ordinary tickets, 100 drops of fortune power for box tickets, and 1,000 drops of fortune power for VIP boxes. Chen Daoxian gave him a deep look. "Really do business. Get me a VIP box." "Yes, senior." The little servant immediately took out a ticket with complex lines and handed it over. "This is your VIP ticket, please keep it." Chen Daoxian nodded and paid. The servant wanted to say something to please, but when he saw Chen Daoxian's gloomy face, he immediately cupped his hands and said, "I wish the seniors have a good time, and the juniors leave." Chen Daoxian waved his hand, and the little servant left quickly as if he had been granted amnesty. Holding the ticket in his hand, Chen Daoxian injected a mana, and immediately projected a virtual image from the ticket, showing the location of the VIP box. Chen Daoxian swept his consciousness and quickly locked the position of the box. Then a teleportation took Luo Li to the box. For Chen Daoxian, the formation outside the box was completely useless. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 499. The demon fighting field is located directly below the VIP box, surrounded by numerous formations to prevent the demons from rushing out and hurting people. After all, many of the target customer groups of this demon fighting arena are descendants of Tianzuan, and they can't afford to hurt the descendants of a big boss. Sit in the VIP box. Chen Daoxian's consciousness was wanting to probe the entire demon fighting field. With his current cultivation base, unless there is a celestial venerable in the demon fighting field, no one will be able to spot his movements. But how could there be Tianzuan in this entertainment situation, which is why Chen Daoxian is blatant. As time went by, the atmosphere at the scene became more and more lively. Even in the VIP box, Chen Daoxian's ears could hear the enthusiastic noise in the field. Only then did Chen Daoxian and Luo Li realize that in order to maintain the atmosphere of the scene, the VIP box had not even set up a soundproof formation. Really? Luo Li was infected by the warm atmosphere at the scene, and there was a hint of excitement on her little face. Chen Daoxian's face was calm. This kind of small scene can't arouse his mood swings at all, and only people who have never seen the battle between the human race and the world monster will be so interested in the confrontation between the monk and the world monster. An hour passed quickly. With the voice of the host of the show off, the field fell. An elegant male cultivator, dressed in spirit armor, stood in the center of the arena. On the other side, a Daojuan-level alien beast world demon who was restrained and imprisoned also appeared in Chen Daoxian's sight. Seeing these two, Luo Li didn't feel anything, but Chen Daoxian suddenly stood up from his seat. "Chen Lang, what's wrong?" Luo Li wondered. Chen Daoxian didn't answer, but frowned and muttered, "Why is he here?" The person Chen Daoxian spoke of was none other than Chen Daoxian's great enemy in Fengyun world, Xiao Yuhua. At the beginning, Xiao Yuhua did not hesitate to use various means to deal with Chen Daoxian and Chen Yuan sword sect in order to seize the treasure of the Chen Yuan sword sect, Yu Huangzhong. First, he wanted to get Yu Huangzhong by marrying his concubine Chen Shui, but after seeing that he couldn't get it out of hand, he simply came and colluded with the Sidiv family, an affiliated family of Wuji Xianmen, and attacked the northwestern sects by force. If it wasn't for Chen Daoxian's efforts to turn the tide, the entire northwestern part of the Phoenix Meteor realm would have already fallen into the hands of the Sidiv family, and the Emperor Yuzhong had also become Xiao Yuhua's possession. But why is Xiao Yuhua in Guangyuan realm? If he remembered correctly, Xiao Yuhua should have gone to serve in the battlefield outside the territory just like him. Chen Daoxian recalled carefully. It seems that when he and Fei Chenxue went to serve in the field outside the territory together, he never saw this Xiao Yuhua. Unexpectedly, he came to Guangyuan realm. The so-called enemies are particularly jealous when they meet, but Chen Daoxian doesn't know what Xiao Yuhua's fate is now, and he doesn't act rashly. Because he knew that if there was no backer, Xiao Yuhua would not be able to escape the conscription law of Tianzuan City. It is not a wise move to make a rash move without knowing Xiao Yua's backing. It is true that with Chen Daoxuan's current strength, he is already qualified to act recklessly, but he does not want to do so, because he always remembers that his biggest enemy is not a certain force or monk of the human race, but the monster. The strength he is hiding now may become the biggest bargaining chip for the human race in the future. Of course, Chen Daoxian will not expose it for a small Xiao Yuhua. Thoughts twitched in his mind. Chen Daoxian turned his head to look at Luo Li with a smile, and said warmly, "It's okay, I'm just curious about the appearance of this world monster, it seems that I have never seen it before." Hearing this, Luo Li immediately laughed. It's not surprising, there are many kinds of world monsters in the real monster world, and some world monsters from small races, Chen Lang, have never seen them before, so it's normal. Well, what Liar said makes sense. Look, the battle has begun, Luo Li said and turned to look at the demon fighting field. Just as Luo Li said, the battle became intensified from the very beginning. Of course, Chen Daoxian didn't like a battle scene of this level at all, and with his eyes, he could see at a glance that Xiao Yua's strength was above this Daojuan level monster. If it wasn't for Xiao Yua's intention to suppress his own strength, this so-called battle would have ended long ago. But that didn't stop the spectators from betting wildly for the outcome of the battle between the two. In the profit of Do Yao Chang, the ticket price is only an insignificant part, and gambling is the biggest income. Seeing that Luo Li was eager to try, Chen Daoxian called for a waitress in the box and said, "I want to bet now, can I?" The waitress only had a foundation building stage of cultivation. Facing a senior like Chen Daoxian who didn't know the depth of his cultivation, he was very uneasy in his heart. How could he dare to say nothing? She lowered her head immediately, and Fushan said quickly, "Senior, you can bet before the winner is decided, but the odds will keep changing." Of course Chen Daoxian knew this. But now Xiao Yuhua has the upper hand, and the alien beast world demon was defeated by him. According to this rhythm, it won't be long before Xiao Yuhua can cut off the head of this world monster. Now Xiao Yua's odds against the world demon have risen to about 7-1. That is, to suppress Xiao Yuhua 7 drops of the power of good fortune, he can only get 1 drop of the power of good fortune if he wins Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian asked casually, "How much fortune is there in the gambling pool now?" This. It stands to reason that this kind of information is generally not disclosed to the outside world, but since it dares to open, it naturally takes into account various situations. Just like now, the waitress in the VIP box quickly said bluntly, "Senior, the current gambling pool has exceeded 40 million fortune, heard." Chen Daoxian glanced at the audience who were not very high in cultivation, and could not help but feel that these people were really rich. Okay, since this is the case, I will press 40 million of the power of creation, and I will press the demon to win. Hearing that Chen Daoxian was going to bet 40 million for the power of creation, the waitress was so frightened that her face paled. Even Luo Li looked at Chen Daoxian curiously. She didn't know why Chen Daoxian was so impulsive. You must know that although the power of 40 million creation is not much to the Chen family, it is a considerable sum even for Tianzuan. You know, at this price, you can already buy a low-quality fairy artifact of not bad quality. However, Chen Daoxian took it out as a bet without changing his face. Senior. The waitress shivered, so frightened that she couldn't speak. What, do you limit bets in the demon fighting arena? The waitress was startled and shook her head frantically. All right then, bet for me. With that said, Chen Daoxian threw a storage ring at will. There are 100 million fortune-telling powers in it, give it to me after placing the bet. The waitress took the storage ring thrown by Chen Daoxian, and her little hand seemed to be dragging a mountain, trembling uncontrollably. Soon. The waitress hurried out of the VIP box. At this time, Luo Li finally couldn't help but ask, "Chen Lang, you are?" "I want to meet the master behind this demon fighting field." It was not what Chen Daoxian expected. Just before the waitress in the box went out for less than a cup of tea, a young man in luxurious clothes rushed outside Chen Daoxuan's box with a Daojun of the Creator Realm. The young monk stood outside Chen Daoxuan's box, cupped his hands and said, Junior Taiyin sect disciple He Yinyan, please see the senior. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness swept across He Yinyan's body and said casually, come in. Thank you senior. The cultivator named He Yinyan, before walking into the box, said to the creator realm next to him, Old Chu, please stay here and don't let outsiders disturb my conversation with senior. Little Lord. Old Chu frowned, as if he was worried about the safety of He Yinyan. He Yinyan looked relaxed and said with a smile, don't worry, this is at the foot of Tianzuan Mountain. At this time, Chen Daoxuan's voice sounded in their ears again, you two don't have to sing double reeds, let's come in together heard. He Yinyan and Chu Lao looked at each other and walked towards the box together. When He Yinyan saw a monk who looked younger than him sitting in the box, he couldn't help being completely shocked. Although a cultivator cannot tell his age from his appearance, if a cultivator does not take the beauty-preserving medicinal herbs, his youthful appearance can also roughly judge how much his lifespan is left. The more life essence a monk has left, the more vitality he has, and the younger he looks. For example, old man Chu beside He Yinyan, because he has not much lifespan left, that's why he looks old. Otherwise, a Daojun of creation realm of the right age will never act as a guard for him, even if he is a descendant of Tianzuan. Seeing Chen Daoxian, He Yinyan immediately guessed the origin of the other party. He is so young, and he is the Daoist of the creation realm. Presumably the other party is here to compete for the once-in-thousand-year-long tribulation opportunity in the Guangyuan realm, and even the other party is very likely to be the winner of the default quota. This means that the Daojun of creation realm in front of him is already a quasi-celestial lord. God! Thinking of this, He Yinyan's eyes showed a touch of envy and jealousy. That's right, although he was born very well, he is the son of Tianzuan, but his own talent is not very good, especially his understanding. Even with the help of the abyss of Tianzuan Mountain, it took him more than 1,000 years to cultivate to the primordial spirit stage. As for the breakthrough to the primordial spirit stage, his cultivation became more and more slow, so much so that in the end it was completely stagnant. Unable to break through to the transcending tribulation period, if nothing else, his lifespan is only 10,000 years at most. 10,000 years of life is very long in the eyes of mortals, but for high-level monks, it is just like that. The senior Tianzuan of the human race, which one is not an old monster who has lived for tens of thousands of years. In addition to Shou Yuan, what makes He Yinyan unacceptable is status. Don't think that he needs wind and rain in the immortal city of Buddha, but he knows in his heart that in the eyes of the real elites of the human race, he is just a trivial person. Just like in front of this creator realm Daojun. He Yinyan was looking at Chen Daoxian, and Chen Daoxian was also observing him. You are the boss of this demon fighting field? He Yinyan bowed his hands and said respectfully, the younger generation is not talented, this demon fighting field is indeed the next industry. Chen Daoxian nodded, since that's the case, I'll just say it straight, I have a grudge with the cultivator off the court who fought the world demon, so I want to buy him to lose. After all, Chen Daoxian looked at He Yinyan lightly. Old Chu, who was beside He Yinyan, seemed to feel the terrifying pressure from Chen Daoxian, and he didn't dare to say a word. At this moment, He Yinyan only felt that the pressure on his body was getting heavier and heavier. Just when he couldn't hold it anymore, he hurriedly said loudly, Senior, I am the son of the 9 regions heavenly venerate. Is that your answer? Feeling that the pressure surrounding his body was gone, He Yinyan took a deep breath. He cupped his hands and said, I don't know what kind of grievance seniors and Dao Yu Shao have, but the so-called enemies should be resolved rather than knotted. The junior is willing to be the host and resolve this grievance for the seniors and Dao Yu Shao, how about it? Get out. Chen Daoxian said lightly. Senior. Chen Daoxian glanced at him indifferently, thousands of words stuck in He Yinyan's throat, making him unable to say a word again. Junior retire. Crane Yinyan bowed his hands and walked out of the box. Soon. The waitress walked into the box tremblingly, and respectfully presented a tray, which contained Chen Daoxuan's storage ring. Chen Daoxian took the storage ring and swept away his consciousness, but found that the power of creation inside had not moved. Next moment. Facing the surprised eyes of Luo Li and the waitress, Chen Daoxian stood up directly. As soon as he waved his hand, the box was directly shattered by him. Immediately afterwards, Chen Daoxian walked in the air, walking towards the center of the demon fighting field step by step. This time, the crazy audience in the field finally noticed the movement on Chen Daoxian's side. The location of the VIP box is directly above the Do Yao Chang, while the general audience and boxes are below the VIP box. Chen Daoxian walked in the sky step by step, just above the heads and in front of these audiences, and they could not pay attention to Chen Daoxian. He Yingyan, who had just walked out of Chen Daoxian's box, also noticed Chen Daoxian's actions. At this moment, his face became ashen. He Yingyan did not expect that the other party would dare to be so blatant. You must know that this is at the foot of Tianzuan Mountain. Presumptuous. He Yingyan was furious and shouted in a low voice, "Old Chu! Young master, rest assured." Old Chu gave a reply, and flew towards Chen Daoxian with the escape light. Unexpectedly, before Chu Lao approached, 10 golden light spots flew towards Chu Lao. When Mr. Chu saw the 10 golden light spots clearly, his liver trembled with fright, and he exclaimed, 6-star Taoist soldiers. This time, Old Chu is still in charge of Chen Daoxian, 10 6-star Taoist soldiers. It is not bad that he can save his life. Fortunately, Chen Daoxian had no intention of killing him. Chen Daoxian's only target is Xiao Yuhua in the demon fighting arena. Walking to the front of the demon fighting field, Chen Daoxian's footsteps were finally blocked, but not by someone, but by the formation. In order to protect the safety of the demon fighting field, the formation used in this demon fighting field was arranged by Tianzuan himself. According to the Tianzuan, this formation was indestructible by the Tianzuan. Chen Daoxian himself is a 6th-order formation mage. Coupled with his painstaking efforts to comprehend the Zhou Tianxing de Great Array, his formation skills have skyrocketed. At a glance, he could see the extraordinariness of this formation. Unfortunately, although Chen Daoxian could not break the formation quickly, he also saw the weakness of this protective formation. I saw Chen Daoxian teleport, and his figure appeared directly at the weak point of the formation. Then he took out the heaven-shaking axe he just bought from Chuanbao Pavilion, and his mana rushed towards the heaven-shaking axe. With the crazy injection of mana, the shape of the heaven-shaking axe finally changed. From a small blue axe the size of a palm, to a giant axe as tall as a person. The next moment, Chen Daoxian held up this giant axe that was taller than him, facing Xiao Yua's terrified gaze, and slashed towards the formation with an axe. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP.
Chapter 500, Boom, a bang sounded like thunder. Immediately afterwards, the formation light curtain on the periphery of the demon fighting field was like pieces of broken glass, shattering piece by piece. On the battlefield, Xiao Yuhua looked at Chen Daoxian, who was holding the cyan giant axe. His heart was beating like a drum. In his impression, an unforgettable figure was slowly overlapping Chen Daoxian's figure. Although this is the first time the two have met, as a pair of old enemies, the two have long been familiar with each other's looks and aura. To put it in a bad way, if the two of them were not suppressed by Tianzuan City, they would have met each other long ago. Chen Dao Xian. Xiao Yua's voice trembled. On the other hand, Chen Daoxian's face was extremely calm. He had thought about how he would feel when he met Xiao Yuhua. But when he really met, Chen Daoxian found that he didn't have much hatred for Xiao Yuhua, but just calm. Xiao Yuhua was completely irritated by Chen Daoxian's aloof appearance. Just as he was about to say something, his opponent, the world demon who was temporarily trapped by his secret technique, finally broke the ban and rushed towards him. Xiao Yuhua turned around abruptly, and was in a hurry again. Seeing Xiao Yua's funny appearance, Chen Daoxian didn't want to play with the other party. In a flash, he appeared between Xiao Yuhua and the unknown world monster. Boom! The huge demon body of the world demon slammed into Chen Daoxian, as if hitting an invisible barrier, and the huge demon body was bounced out directly. Being hit hard by this, the world demon kept shaking its head. What do you want? Xiao Yua's voice trembled even more. I tell you, this is at the foot of Tianzun Mountain. Don't be presumptuous. Are you afraid? Chen Daoxian looked at him calmly. Hearing this, Xiao Yuhua was completely enraged. Just when Chen Daoxian thought that the other party would recklessly attack him, the other party made a move that caught him off guard, that is, he turned around and ran. How fast is the escaping speed of the Taoist on the third floor of the world? If Chen Daoxian had not blocked the entire space of the demon fighting field, Xiao Yuhua would have used teleportation to escape. Run. Can you run? Chen Daoxian shook his head, stretched out his palm at will, and waved lightly. Xiao Yua's figure flew towards the position of Chen Daoxian's palm at several times the speed of the light. Do not. Xiao Yuhua realized something and shouted wildly, You can't kill me, I'm a disciple of Wuji immortal sect. Killing me is equal to provoking Taiyin sect. Young master He. Save me. However, the young master He Enian in his mouth was pursing his lips tightly at the moment, and said nothing. As for saving Xiao Yuhua. Don't be kidding, didn't you see that his guardian Chu Lao was trapped by 10 six-star Taoist soldiers?
Not to mention saving Xiao Yuhua, now old Chu and his life are in the hands of Chen Daoxian. Although he is the son of Jiuyu Tianzuan, he is only one of the children of Jiuyu Tianzuan, and he is the one with the worst talent. Speaking of which, he himself hadn't seen his father for hundreds of years. If Chen Daoxian beheaded him, Jiuyu Tianzuan may seek revenge for Chen Daoxian, but if he just kills Xiao Yuhua, it is estimated that no one will care about a small phoenix cultivator. Besides, is Chen Daoxian an ordinary Daojun of the realm of creation? Not to mention that he is about to obtain the once-in-thousand-year-old opportunity of the Guangyuan realm to cross the robbery. Even the 6-star Taoist soldiers in his hands are enough to let him walk sideways in the creation realm. Even if it is Tianzuan, without an immortal weapon, it is estimated that it is not Chen Daoxian's opponent. How dare He Enian speak? Xiao Yuhua was completely desperate when he saw that He Enian didn't say a word. He began to frantically bite and said, He Enian, you don't save me, do you want me to take bribes from you and help people avoid the recruitment of Tianzuan city to the public? He Enian's face changed suddenly upon hearing this threat, and he hurriedly cupped his hands to Chen Daoxian. Senior Chen, this man is full of nonsense, so please don't believe me. I suspect that this man is escaping from the call for the purpose of lurking in the Guangyuan realm to seek information. Li is definitely the spy of the world demon who was demolished in the human race. Oh? Chen Daoxian saw that Xiao Yuhua was still talking, so he grabbed his neck with one hand, sealed his 6 senses, and made him shut up completely. Do you have any evidence for this? Senior, please see. With a flash of light, He Enian quickly flew to Chen Daoxian, and respectfully took out a photo stone from the storage ring. This is the evidence of Xiao Yua's collaborating with the enemy. Chen Daoxian took over the so-called evidence of Xiao Yua's crime from Yin Henian. Sure enough, what this photo stone recorded was the photo of Xiao Yuhua reporting information to a Taoist-level demon. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian took a deep look at He Enian and said, If that's the case, why didn't you report it earlier? Senior, forgive me, this junior wants to observe for a while, so that I can follow the vines and catch the line of Xiao Yuhua. He Enian bowed. Since he was captured by the senior today, the junior will hand over this crime to the senior to deal with together. Chen Daoxian glanced at him. Then what happened when he said you took bribes to help him escape from Tianzuan city? Senior Mingcha, how can you trust the words of such a spy? Makes sense. Chen Daoxian nodded. I will inform Wuha Tianzuan about this matter. If he is really a spy of the world demon, you will make a great contribution today, if not. Chen Daoxian snorted softly and waved the heaven-shaking axe, and the world demon that finally recovered was directly split into nothingness by Chen Daoxian. Seeing this, He Enian felt tight in his heart and quickly assured, Senior, don't worry, this scorpion is definitely a spy of the world demon. Chen Daoxian nodded, put away the heaven-shaking axe and the shadow stone, and trapped Xiao Yuhua with a space cage. With a flash, Chen Daoxian returned to the box again. Glancing at old Chu, who was besieged by insect soldiers, he took Luo Li away with him. He Yinyan saw old Chu, who was in danger, and hurriedly shouted at Chen Daoxian, "Senior." It's just that before he finished speaking, 10 six-star Taoist soldiers turned into 10 golden light spots and flew towards Chen Daoxian's escape light quickly. Looking at the dying old Chu Lao, He Yinyan finally breathed a sigh of relief. Finally gone. He looked at Chen Daoxian's passing away, and said silently. Immediately, his consciousness swept across the entire demon fighting arena and said to the audience in the demon fighting arena, "Please keep today's affairs a secret." After all, He Yinyan's figure also disappeared. He knew that the talk of secrecy was just his attitude towards Tianzuan Mountain. Many of the audience in this demon fighting arena are descendants of heavenly venerate, and they are not afraid of He Yinyan's threat at all. In other words, this matter will soon be known to everyone. However, He Yinyan was not worried. When he received Xiao Yuhua or Wuji Xianmen bribe, he had already prepared his way back. The photo stone he gave to Chen Daoxian was just one of the backers he prepared. In the hands of He Yinyan, there is even a photo stone that the Wuji Xianmen high-level executives and the world monsters exchanged with. Of course, these are all fakes, just the nomination certificate left by Wuji Immortal Sect after going through the back door here. Otherwise, what if Wuji Xianmen threatened him with bribery? You must know that helping the cultivator escape the conscription of Tianzuan City is a serious crime. With this kind of punishment, even his father, the 9 regions heavenly venerate, would find it difficult to protect him, especially since he has shielded a large number of Yuanshan Deagents from the Phoenix realm and even the inner territory over the years, helping them evade military service. Once this incident is exposed, He Yinyan will surely die. On the way back to Tianzuan Mountain, Luo Li's head was still foggy at the moment. She looked at Chen Daoxian beside her, and asked, "Chen Lang, why did Xiao Yuhua become a spy of the world demon?" He Yinyan's words are nothing more than deceiving ghosts. Chen Daoxian said coldly. He Yinyan would certainly not be able to deceive Chen Daoxian. If Xiao Yuhua had the ability, he would work so hard for an immortal weapon of Qianyuan sword sect. If he was a real spy, would he still be afraid of military service? Is not this contradictory? The only explanation is that the photo stone in his hand is a perjury deliberately made by He Yinyan. Only if Xiao Yuhua and the others agreed to record these perjury, He Yinyan would agree to help them escape the summons from Tianzuan City. In the end, it's just a nomination. But this name vote is enough to kill Xiao Yuhua. In fact, whether it is Xiao Yuhua escaping military service or Xiao Yuhua acting as a spy of the world demon, he is dead. Chen Daoxian is not in a hurry to kill the opponent now. He wants to use Xiao Yuhua as a bait to catch bigger fish. Chen Daoxian did not explain, but Luo Li was still a little confused. But she believed that Arrow would take care of everything. Indeed, Chen Daoxian is now dealing with this from the perspective of the superior. Compared with Xiao Yuhua and He Yinyan, he is the referee, and the other party is the one judged by him. This change in status is all brought about by strength. If he is just an ordinary Yuanshan Daojun now, it is absolutely impossible for He Yinyan to bow his head, let alone hand over Xiao Yuhua and put his criminal evidence in his hands. Return to Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion. Chen Daoxian found Wuhe Tianzuan immediately. The world demon spies? Wuhe Tianzuan looked at Xiao Yuhua, who was banned by Chen Daoxian with 6 senses, and glanced at Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian nodded, waved his hand, and released Xiao Yuhua's ban. Who? As soon as the ban was lifted, Xiao Yuhua gasped frantically like someone who was saved from drowning. Chen Daoxian, you. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Yuhua noticed Wuhe Tianzuan not far away. He looked at Wuhe Tianzuan, but found that he couldn't see the other's cultivation base at all. Seeing this, Xiao Yuhua hurriedly knelt to the ground and kowtowed, "Junior pays respects to Tianzuan." Seeing his appearance, Wu Tianzuan didn't talk nonsense, and asked directly, "I will ask you, what is going on?" Saying that, Wu Tianzuan inspired the photo stone, and immediately, the evidence of Xiao Yua's illicit affair with the world demon was presented in front of the three of them. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yua's face turned completely pale. He knew that he was doomed. Xiao Yuhua couldn't help but shouted bitterly, "He Enian, you are ruthless." Seemingly hearing Xiao Yua's implication, Wu Tianzuan continued to ask, "You mean, the content recorded in this photo stone was fabricated by He Enian?" Xiao Yua's expression changed, but in the end he didn't say a word. "Xiao Yuhua, do you want to help He Enian resist all the guilt? You know, he wants only you to die." "Humph, Chen Daoxian, you don't need to waste your words. Cooperating with the enemy is death, refusing military service is also death, and both sides are dead. What do you want me to say, herd?" Chen Daoxian and Wu Tianzuan looked at each other and smiled. Chen Daoxian coughed and said, "Xiao Yuhua, collaborating with the enemy must be a capital crime. This is the iron law of the human race, but refusal to perform military service is not necessarily a capital crime, especially if you have committed crimes and meritorious service." "What did you say?" Xiao Yuhua grabbed the last straw like a drowning man. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something again. "But so what, I offended you, will you still let me go?" Chen Daoxian shook his head, "Think about it carefully, although you have offended me, but you and I have fought several times, but who has the upper hand? Why should I hate you?" This sentence made Xiao Yuhua hope again. That's right, although Xiao Yuhua offended Chen Daoxian, he suffered heavy losses when he confronted Chen Daoxian. On the other hand, Chen Daoxian not only lost nothing, but also took the opportunity to take the entire Northwest land into his pocket. Speaking of which, he should be Chen Daoxian's benefactor. Chen Daoxian didn't know what Xiao Yuhua was thinking at this time, otherwise he would definitely be laughed at by the other party's brazenness. Seeing that Xiao Yua's psychological defense line was completely broken, Wu Tianzuan asked again, "Tell me, what is going on?" "Yes." Xiao Yuhua immediately revealed everything. It turned out that Wuji Xianmen and He Enian colluded to help Yuanchen Daojun in their sect and their sphere of influence escape military service, not once or twice. The two have a long-term cooperation. It can be said that about half of Yuanchen Daojun under Wuji Xianmen have evaded military service. It was also by chance that Xiao Yuhua knew this secret inside the door. When he knew this secret, Xiao Yuhua scattered his family wealth and chose to desert military service. To avoid military service, not only a lot of money, but also a certificate of vote for He Enian, which is the photo stone that He Enian gave to Chen Daoxian. "Is there any evidence for what you said?" Xiao Yuhua glanced at Chen Daoxian. "Yes, of course there is. Not only me, but all the sect masters and elders in my sect have registered their names with He Enian. Can't everyone in my Promise Immortal sect be all spies, right? And you can also check how many primordial spirit cultivators He Enian has secretly helped me in Wuji Xianmen to escape military service over the years." Having said that, things are almost clear. Chen Daoxian and Wu Tianzuan knew in their hearts that this incident was not a human spy, but that He Enian took bribes to help Wuji Xianmen escape from military service. And it is a large-scale help Wuji Xianmen deserters. Thinking about it too, this He Enian is said to be just a child of Zhou Tianzuan who is not valued, but Chen Daoxian sees his appearance, but he does not lack money at all. You know, it's just a monster fight, and the betting chips can reach 50 million drops of the power of creation, which is almost comparable to a low-quality fairy weapon of good quality. As a dealer, the wealth of He Enian can be imagined. Where did the money come from in He Enian? It's not like he has the ability to extract the power of creation from industry like Chen Daoxian, right? Daoxian. Wu Tianzuan looked at Chen Daoxian. Heavenly Venerable. Chen Daoxian bowed his hands. Let's put this matter down first, and wait until you break through the tribulation transcendence period before thinking about it in the long run. Although He Enian is nothing, his father, Zhou Tianzuan, is one of the top Tianzuan of my human race. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian tentatively asked, "Is it like the silver-winged Tianzuan?" Wuhe Tianzuan shook his head. 9 regions is the main town guard. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian immediately understood. Chen Daoxian wants to move Heinian now, and it is not small, unless Wuhe Tianzuan personally takes action. But Wuhe Tianzuan is also going to survive the 8th Thunder Calamity, and he has no time to pay attention to these trivial matters now. As long as you successfully transcend the tribulation in the Guangyuan Thunder Sea, these things are just trivial matters. Wuhe Tianzuan said indifferently. Brother Shen. Shen Chongqing was walking on the road, and when he met someone he knew, he would say hello or nod to each other. But no matter who. Everyone's face has no superfluous expressions, as if they are very indifferent to everything. To this, Shen Chongqing is used to it. Because this is the Ministry of Suppression, it is an organization that maintains the stability of Daqin. Its main responsibility is to kill monsters and monsters. Of course, there are also some other side jobs. It can be said. In the Demon Suppression Division, everyone had a lot of blood on their hands. When a person is used to seeing life and death, he will become indifferent to many things. When he first came to this world, Shen Chongqing was a little uncomfortable, but over time he got used to it. The town magic department is very big. Those who can stay in the town demon division are all powerful masters, or those who have the potential to become masters. Shen Chongqing belongs to the latter. Among them, the suppressing demon division is divided into 2 occupations, one is the guardian, and the other is the exorcist. Anyone who enters the demon suppression division starts from the lowest level of demon slayer. Then he was promoted step by step, and finally he was expected to become a guardian envoy. Shen Chongqing's predecessor was a trainee slayer in the demon suppression division, and he was also the lowest ranked slayer. Has the memory of the predecessor. He is also very familiar with the environment of the town demon division. It didn't take too long, Shen Chongqing stopped in front of an attic. Different from other places full of chills in the demon suppression division, the attic here seems to stand out from the crowd, showing a different tranquility in the suppression demon division. At this time, the door to the attic was open, and occasionally people came in and out. Shen Chongqing just hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. Enter the attic. Circumstances have changed in vain. A burst of ink fragrance mixed with a faint smell of blood rushed towards his face, causing his brows to instinctively wrinkle, but it quickly relaxed. There is almost no way to clean the smell of everyone in Jinmosi. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 501, Extraterritorial Battlefield. The 9 War Zone, Haoyue Immortal City. In a barren and broken world, human monks are fighting against the demon tide. Kill! Rush up and kill all these demon cubs. On the battlefield, the shouts of killing were soaring. In the crowd, 2 slender figures were back to back, and they were surrounded by world monsters. Master, what should I do now? Fairy Qi Yao, who was wearing purple spirit armor, looked at Fei Chenxue with despair written all over her pretty face. Since Qi Yao went to Liangjiyuan, she wandered around and finally met her master in Haoyue Xianqing. When the two met for the first time in Liangjiyuan, the atmosphere was very awkward. After that, Fairy Qi Yao took the initiative to join the team led by Fei Chenxue and became a guard sergeant in Haoyue Xianqing. Today, Qi Yao and concubine Chenxue have served in Haoyue Xianqing for more than 10 years. Over the years, Fei Chenxue has been relying on the insect soldiers donated to her by Chen Daoxian, and has repeatedly made military exploits in Haoyue Xianqing. If it wasn't for Qi Yao's unwillingness to retire, with the military exploits made by concubine Chenxue, she would have ended her service long ago. No way, use insect soldiers. Fei Chenxue glanced at the world monsters that rushed towards the two of them like a tide, and said decisively. Insect soldier is Fei Chenxue and Qi Yao's biggest trump card. Over the years, they have never used it unless they have to. But now the two of them have reached the end of the mountain, and if they don't use it, there is only one dead end. Say it. Qiao quickly took out a gourd-shaped cave artifact, and a large number of golden light-spot insect gourd artifact rushed out. It was the insect soldier. Looking closely, these insect soldiers have already transformed to 3-star level or above after years of fighting and growing. Nowadays, it is as easy as the palm of your hand to kill most of these world monsters who are only at the level of a true monarch. With the addition of a large group of insect soldiers, the form of the battlefield gradually reversed, and the world monsters surrounding Qiao and Fei Chenxue were quickly cleaned up by the insect soldiers. The two of them only felt the pressure drop sharply. Feeling the pressure dissipated, Fei Chenxue finally breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing things and thinking about people, she looked at the slaughtering insect soldiers and sighed, I don't know how Chen Lang is doing now. Hearing Master mentioning Chen Daoxuan's name, Qiao's movements paused slightly. Obviously, after all these years, Qiao still hasn't forgotten the other party. All this was seen by Fei Chenxue. She sighed in her heart, but she didn't say anything after all. He is so strong and his talent is so good, he will be fine. Hearing this, Fei Chenxue was stunned for a moment and smiled, yes, he must be fine, it's just. She frowned. Recently, the invasion of Haoyue Immortal City by realm demons has become more and more frequent. This is not normal. Qiao shook her head, it's not just Haoyue Xiancheng, I heard that the main city of our garrison 9th War Zone has been frequently violated recently. Just 3 months ago, the main city encountered a large demon wave. When it comes to the invasion of the world demon, the hearts of both of them are a little heavy. Originally in Fengyun realm, they had never felt the threat of realm demons. Although the sect classics of the Qianyuan Sword sect recorded some information about the demons, they were only a few words. It's not like they are now, dealing with world demons all day long. Either fighting with the world monsters, or guarding Haoyue Immortal City to prevent the world monsters from attacking the city. For more than 10 years, both of them have become accustomed to the brutality of the battlefield outside the territory. Compared with the extraterritorial battlefield, the battles between the major cultivation forces in the Phoenix Meteor realm are not worth mentioning at all. Cultivation forces are fighting, as long as one side surrenders, the other side rarely kills them. But the battle between the human cultivator and the world monster is different. The only loser is death. At least the sergeant of the true monarch level cannot escape the pursuit of the world monster at all. These years, concubine Chen Shui and Qiao have been able to survive safely, all relying on the cards left by Chen Daoxian. Otherwise, even if concubine Chen Shui had Emperor Yuzhong by her side, she would have died many times. When she stepped on the battlefield outside the territory, she knew why Xiao Yuhua was so afraid to serve here in the first place. Guangyuan Realm. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it has been 12 years since Chen Daoxian came to Guangyuan Realm. Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion, the land of the abyss. Chen Daoxian stared at the golden crow shards that were swallowed up by the purple thunder skyfire, and heaved a sigh of relief. Finally caught up. There was a hint of joy on his face. 2 years later, Chen Daoxian finally finished refining all the golden crow fragments he bought from Chuanbao Pavilion. And his purple thunder skyfire has also been promoted from the first-level tribulation fire to the third-level tribulation fire. This span is not too big. Originally, with the mana of his creator, Dao Jun, he was able to use the secret technique of Zile Tianhua at will. But as Zile Tianhua was promoted to the third level of calamity, he found that using his mana to use Zile Tianhua became a little unsupportive. However, Chen Daoxian was not discouraged, because he knew that once he broke through to the transcendence period, the problem of insufficient mana will be solved. Speaking of which, he can now use the mana of the Dao Jun of the creation realm to activate the Zile Tianhua, or rely on the mana stored by the 7th order high-grade power spirit armor. Otherwise, he can only rely on his own mana reserves, unless he mobilizes the power of the world in the Xianhuang realm. But the power of the world in the Xianhuang realm is easy to consume, but it is very difficult to replenish it, especially when the Xianhuang realm has become a real world. You must know that the current Xianhuang realm is not a barren world. The power of the world can be taken or taken away by Chen Daoxian. Anyway, the world is dead. No matter how it is destroyed, it is still dead. As Chen Daoxian stepped into the third floor of the world, and after the Xianhuang world gave birth to life, its world power could no longer be consumed at will. Because once Chen Daoxian exhausts the power of the world in Xuanhuangji, the world will completely enter the countdown to the end. This is no joke. Therefore, even if Chen Daoxian wanted to borrow the power of the world from the Xianhuang realm, he could only take it easy and couldn't lick wool from the dead, otherwise the backlash would come, and the Xianhuang realm would inevitably become a dead realm. This caused that although Chen Daoxian had broken through to the realm of creation, his mana was not much strong. Even to a certain extent, the mana he can use has become less. Of course, although the mana has not become stronger, due to the leap of the Dao realm, his strength is much stronger than that of the world realm. The same mana, the realm of the avenue is different, and the power it exerts is also completely different. Chen Daoxian had a deep understanding of this point when he was in the Zifu period. However, what he is about to face is the selection of the chance to break through the tribulation period. This time, he had 6 opponents, and all of them, like him, were Daijins of the creation realm. In other words, ordinary means did not have much effect on these 6 competitors. If Chen Daoxian wants to defeat these 6 competitors and successfully get the spot, he must use his trump card. The heaven-shaking axe is a pure yang immortal weapon, and it is a pure yang immortal weapon worth 100 million fortune power. Naturally, it is a big trump card. But compared to the heaven-shaking axe, Chen Daoxian felt that Zilei Tianhua, who had been promoted to the 3rd level of tribulation fire, was even more powerful. It's not that the power of the heaven-shaking axe is not comparable to that of Zilei Tianhua, but that Chen Daoxian cannot fully exert the power of the heaven-shaking axe. But Zilei Tianhua is different. As the secret technique of spiritual fire he has painstakingly cultivated, the only advantage of Zilei Tianhua is that as long as Chen Daoxian has sufficient mana, he can perfectly exert its power. This also means that as long as Chen Daoxian is willing, he can even break out an attack comparable to the 2nd Tribulation Heavenly Venerate or even the 3rd Tribulation Heavenly Venerate. Of course, whether it was the heaven-shaking axe, the purple thunder sky fire, or the insect soldier in his hand. They are just cards that can be revealed to the outside world. Chen Daoxian's real trump card is only one, and that is the astrology. But the astrology was too involved, and Chen Daoxian didn't dare to expose it at all. Although Chen Daoxian had a hunch that after the display of the stars, he had the confidence to compete with the Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate, but so what? Compared with the World Demon, what can a true immortal combat power change? Nothing can be changed. In this case, Chen Daoxian might as well hide his cards. As Wuhe Tianzuan said, as the world monsters put more and more pressure on the human race, the probability of traitors appearing in the human race is getting higher and higher. Even though it is clear to anyone with a discerning eye, the world demon cannot be trusted. But how many people can stay sane under the threat of death? Just when Chen Daoxian put Zilei Tianhua into the middle dantian, Wuhe Tianzan's voice rang in Chen Daoxian's ear. The hour has come. Yes, Tianzuan. Chen Daoxian stood up silently. Beside him, Luo Li, who had been by his side all the time, saw Chen Daoxian stand up and hurriedly stood up. Is it time? Luo Li was even more nervous than Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian nodded, let's go together. It is good. Hearing that Chen Daoxian was willing to take her with him this time, Luo Li smiled happily. In the past, Chen Daoxian would definitely let her wait here, but this time, he was willing to take her with him. This is what makes Luo Li the happiest. Soon, Chen Daoxian rushed to the cave residence of Wuhe Tianzuan. With the arrival of him and Luo Li, there are a total of 7 monks in front of the cave, that is to say, there is only one left, and everyone is all together. Chen Daoxian's eyes swept over the 5 pre-selection seeds one by one. To be honest, he didn't pay attention to any of these people. When the strength gap is large to a certain extent, there is really nothing to pay attention to. In Chen Daoxian's view, this competition for places is more like a transition, but even if it is a transition, he has to come and go. Because this is the rules set by Wuhe Tianzuan. Since he wants to get a place from Wuhe Tianzuan, he must abide by the rules of Wuhe Tianzuan. Soon, the last Daojun of Creation Realm also came. Chen Daoxian discovered that the last Daojun of Creation Realm did not live in Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion, but came from outside Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion. This also means that this Daojun of Creation Realm is the descendant of other heavenly venerates. But this is also normal. Although there is no cultivation force behind Wuhe Tianzuan, he will always owe some favors. This preselection seed quota is the best way for him to return the favor. On the contrary, it is rare for someone like Chen Daoxian to have a preselection seed quota based on Wuhe Tianzan's mentality of supporting the younger generation. With the arrival of the last monk in front of the cave, a figure suddenly appeared. It was Wuhe Tianzuan. Since everyone is here, I announce that the selection of places will officially begin. Saying that, Wuhe Tianzuan waved his sleeve, and saw a light curtain rushing out from his sleeve. Suddenly, the light curtain turned into an upside-down bowl, covering everyone. Except for the use of Dao soldiers, there are no restrictions on other magical weapons and secret techniques. Because there is only one place, who of you are confident can stand in the middle and defend the battle? Wuhe Tianzuan did not arrange a battle, and the method he adopted was very rough. Keep fighting. In other words, 1 fights 6, will battle. Without absolute confidence, no one dares to take a step forward. But in this way, it is with Chen Daoxian's mind, and he doesn't want to play any one-on-one promotion trick. I saw Chen Daoxian fly straight to the center of the light curtain and stand in the sky. He glanced at everyone, raised his hand, and a terrifying purple flame appeared in his palm. In the purple flames, one after another thunder continued to flicker, and it was his spiritual fire secret technique, Purple Thunder Skyfire. Purple Thunder Skyfire. The Daojun of the creation realm present was not an uninformed person, and they all recognized this terrifying flame for the first time. Now, under the control of Chen Daoxian, Zilei Tianhua exudes a terrifying pressure. This pressure, even through the mask clothed by the 5 rivers heavenly venerate immortal artifact, still overwhelms everyone. As a last resort, Wuhe Tianzuan had to strengthen the protection of this mask again, so that the pressure of Zilei Tianhua was not transmitted again. But seeing this scene, how can there be a creation realm Daojun who dares to come? This is Purple Thunder Skyfire. And from the coercion it exudes, it can be seen that this is not a simple one-level catastrophe. In the face of such a terrifying Zilei Tianhua, who would dare to enter? Unless he's crazy. You must know that everyone is the Daojun of the creation realm. With normal fighting methods, everyone can still admit defeat, but under the burning of the Purple Thunder Skyfire, I am afraid there is no chance to admit defeat. Not to mention that they fought one-on-one with Chen Daoxian. Even if everyone went together, they doubted whether they could survive 3 rounds. What is this about? Seeing this, the Daojun of the creation realm who came last had a livid face, and he bowed his hands to Wuhe Tianzuan. Tianzuan, the junior abstains. I also abstain. Me too. Hearing that someone abstained, the rest of the creators of the realm abstained. Just kidding, isn't this abstaining from courting death? Seeing that everyone abstained, Wuhe Tianzuan announced in public, since this is the case, I declare that Chen Daoxian will obtain the opportunity of this Guangyuan Leihai crossing tribulation. Until this moment, no one knew Chen Daoxian's name taboo. What's even more annoying is that they have never heard of this taboo. Generally speaking, if they can cultivate to the level of Daojun in the realm of creation, they will not have heard of it. There is only one possibility: Chen Daoxian is not from the inner territory. Since it is not the inner domain, it is the people of the Fengyun world. Thinking of this, they can't help but feel even more resentful. The monks of the Phoenix Meteor realm have always been despised by the monks in the inner realm. I didn't expect such a strong man to emerge this time. Although Chen Daoxian simply showed his hand, everyone knew that although everyone was the Daojun of the creator realm, Chen Daoxian's level of strength was obviously not on the same level as them. After losing to Chen Daoxian, they were convinced. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 502. Guangyuan Realm. One after another tyrannical breath, across an unknown distance, rushed back to Tianzuan Mountain. Tianzuan Mountain, which is usually very deserted, has become extraordinarily noisy today. With the arrival of each Tianzuan, or dispatched incarnations, finally, in a Tianzuan mansion located on the top of Tianzuan Mountain, slowly walked out of a top powerhouse of the human race, Gujian Tianzuan. Feel the breath of the ancient sword Tianzuan. All the human race heavenly venerates who rushed back to Tianzuan Mountain all bowed to the location of the ancient sword heavenly venerate. Ancient sword heavenly venerate. Ancient sword heavenly venerate. This ceremony of seeing is full of respect from all the gods to the ancient sword gods. Located on the top of Tianzuan Mountain, the ancient sword Tianzuan wears a grey robe and carries a simple long sword. His face is like a knife and an axe, and he is very resolute. Everyone. The ancient sword Tianzuan spoke slowly, although the sound was not loud, but it entered the ears of every monk in Tianzuan Mountain. It has been more than 476,000 years since I ascended to the true immortal of the human race. During this period of time, my human race has always been weak in the face of the monsters, but fortunately, my human race still has the Guangyuan realm, and can continue to give birth to Tianzuan. Coupled with the supreme formation method created by the ancient real immortals for our human race will surely continue. Gujian Tianzan's words gave the exhausted Tianzans a trace of comfort in their hearts. Most of these heavenly venerates who took time out of their busy schedules sent their mana incarnations to participate in this grand ceremony. As for their real bodies, most of them were located in the major immortal cities of the human race. It is precisely because of their guarding that the human race has this peaceful place in the inner domain, and the Phoenix Meteor realm can be spared the evil of the demons. It can be said that there are not 100 tribulation monks who stay in Tianzuan Mountain on weekdays, and they are all very powerful Tianzuan. For example, the ancient sword Tianzuan and the silver wing Tianzuan. Because only they have the strength to rush to the major immortal cities of the human race at any time. As for the other 8 tribulations heavenly venerate, without the blessing of the immortal city, it is impossible to compete with the true immortal level world monsters. But it is very difficult to match the world monster with the cultivation of Tianzuan. Heavenly venerates like Gujian heavenly venerate and silver wing heavenly venerate are also the 1 in 100 among all heavenly venerates. They are the peak powerhouses of the human race. In front of Wuha Tianzuan Mansion, Chen Daoxian looked at the ancient sword Tianzuan on the top of the mountain and asked, "Tianzuan, we have come here to cross the tribulation this time. So many monks have come here? Do you think much?" Wuha Tianzuan shook his head and pointed, "I think there are a few people here this time." Few? Chen Daoxian was a little confused. In his opinion, at least half of the monks who rushed back to Tianzuan Mountain this time, is this less? Wuha Tianzuan seemed to know his thoughts and explained, "Last time Guangyuan Leihai crossed the calamity, but more than 3,000 Tianzuan came." More than 3,000 heavenly venerates? Chen Daoxian was stunned. How many gods does my human race have? Not counting your group, there are 3,785. So much. Chen Daoxian was stunned. He never thought that there were so many heavenly venerates of the human race. A lot. Wuha Tianzuan sighed, "Then do you know how many Tianzuan level powerhouses are among the world monsters?" Hearing this, Chen Daoxian was silent. Although he doesn't know how many heavenly venerate level powerhouses there are in the world monster, he knows that there must be more than the human race, and it is a lot more. The real demon world has more resources than the Phoenix Meteor world, and for so many years, the real monster world has been swallowing the Phoenix Meteor world, which has caused the strength gap between the two worlds to continue to expand. Even if there is the Guangyuan realm left by immortal Guangyuan for the human race, the Phoenix Meteor realm and the Guangyuan realm together are far inferior to the true demon realm. Seeing that Chen Daoxian didn't speak, Wuha Tianzuan said to himself, "As far as we know, the number of real fairy-level demons in the real demon world is more than the number of my human race. What? Chen Daoxian was almost frightened by Wu Tianzhen's words, the real demon world, how can it be so strong? Yes. Wu Tianzhen sighed, in the battle of the ancient times, my human race was doomed to be defeated without destroying the real immortals of the human race. These hundreds of thousands of years are just my human race lingering on. If it weren't for the endless battles within the real demon world, the world demon would have leveled our human race with nothing more than a little effort. If these words were spoken to an ordinary human cultivator, it would probably cause unimaginable confusion. But Chen Daoxian is different, he is about to cross the robbery and become the heavenly venerate of the human race, the top of the human race. He is qualified to know the cruel reality facing the human race. As the saying goes, the sky is falling, and there is a tall man on it, and now, he is the tall man of the human race. In the past, Chen Daoxian worked hard to cultivate, in addition to making a breakthrough in his own cultivation, he also wanted Uncle 13, Chen Daochu, and all the children of the Chen family to have a better life. But slowly, as his strength became stronger and stronger, his thoughts began to change little by little. Especially when he knew that the human race was facing the threat of the world demon, his mood was even more so. He has to do something for the human race, even for the Chen family and the people he loves, he has to do something. All along, Chen Daoxian felt that he was not that great. Especially in the immortal cultivation world of Fengyan world, which is intriguing. All he wants to do is to protect the Chen family and develop the Chen family, without much else. But now, his mind has changed. If the human race is gone, where can my Chen family go? Chen Daoxian whispered softly. Along the way, he has given a lot to his family. Now, the Chen family has indeed become the top immortal cultivator family in the Fengyan world because of him. Chen Daoxian would never allow it, the family he grew up in was destroyed by the world demon. Wu Tianzhen glanced at Chen Daoxian and smiled slightly. On top of the mountain. Gu Jian Tianzhen saw that all the candidates recommended by Tianzhen had arrived, and announced in public, this seat is here first, and I wish you all a smooth transition. Thank you Tianzhen. Including Chen Daoxian, all the selected creation realm Daojun, all bowed to the ancient sword Tianzhen. Gu Jian Tianzhen nodded. I saw him take out a bronze mirror and aim the mirror at the clouds high in the sky. Next moment. Under the golden light emanating from the bronze mirror, the cloud layer was immediately peeled off, and within the peeled-off cloud layer, purple thunder and lightning were surging frantically, like a furious sea of thunder. This. Chen Daoxian was stunned by the sight in front of him. He never imagined that such a huge sea of thunder was hidden in the clouds of Guangyuan realm. What's more, he never felt that the power of this thunder sea leaked to the outside world. Just when Chen Daoxian and others were shocked, a figure took the lead in flying towards Lei high in the clouds. Tianzhen, who is that? He is the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion. Wu Tianzhen explained. He is the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion? Chen Daoxian secretly remembered this person, but why did he go in? The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, whose cultivation base is at least 7 or 8 robbers, should not grab the opportunity of Daojun of Creation Realm. Wu Tianzhen shook his head. This matter will be discussed when you return from the tribulation, go ahead. Chen Daoxian watched one after another flying towards Lei Hai, nodded to Luo Li beside him, and immediately flew in towards Lei Hai. With the last creation realm Daojun flew into the Sea of Lei. The clouds slowly closed, and the extremely violent thunder sea also disappeared from everyone's eyes. Seeing this scene, the monks present did not leave, they all waited in place. Because next, the human race will give birth to a new batch of transcending tribulation heavenly venerate. Some of these heavenly venerates will become human guards, and if they are lucky, some will even become special heavenly venerates with true immortal level combat power comparable to the ancient sword heavenly venerate. In any case, their appearance is the growth of the power of the human race, and it is worth waiting for the heavenly venerates present. The other side. As soon as Chen Daoxian flew into Lei Hai, he displayed the Dharma image. Immediately, a body of a demon with a height of nearly 10,000 feet appeared in the Sea of Thunder. It's just that, compared with the vast Sea of Thunder, his tens of thousands of feet tall demon god's body is not worth mentioning. The most important thing is that this Sea of Thunder seems to be extremely violent, but it is not full of destructive power like the legendary Tribulation, but while destroying his body, it injected a vitality into his body. This is the interference of the world consciousness of Guanyuan world. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian is still unclear. This so-called Lei Hai opportunity is exactly the opportunity that immortal Guanyuan left to the descendants of the human race. Think of this. Chen Daoxian couldn't help but admire this real human being who had never met before. This Guanyuan immortal venerable, it can be said that he paid everything for the human race. Even until the death of the body, he still remembers the continuation of the human race. Compared to immortal venerable Guanyuan, the other true immortals of the human race who have ascended to the upper realm seem very insignificant. The other Daijins of creation realm also discovered the beauty of Lei Hai, and they all looked excited. No wonder it has always been said that in the Thunder Sea of Guanyuan realm, the success rate is at least 10 times higher than that of the outside world, and even if the calamity fails, there will be no danger to life. It turned out that the key was that this seemingly very dangerous Lei Hai was actually very docile. With the strength of the thunder slurry in the Thunder Sea, Chen Daoxian could observe other monks while crossing the tribulation. Especially the pavilion owner of the Chuanbao Pavilion, Chen Daoxian was very curious, why did this boss come to Guanyuan Lei Hai with them? But when Chen Daoxian saw the movements of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, he finally knew what he was doing. He's refining an immortal weapon in the Sea of Thunder. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion was sitting on the Sea of Thunder, and when he reached out his hand to fish, the scattered purple thunder fires in the Sea of Thunder were gathered together by him, forming a terrifying large flower. Seeing the Zile Tianhua in front of him condensing and forming, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion began to take out various spiritual materials and refine the pure yang fairy weapon. At this moment, Chen Daoxian finally knew how the fairy artifact of Chuanbao Pavilion came from. It turned out to be refined with the help of the purple thunder skyfire in the Thunder Sea. Moreover, Chen Daoxian could see that the quality of the purple thunder skyfire condensed in this Sea of Thunder was much higher than his purple thunder skyfire. The most important thing is that Chen Daoxian's purple thunder skyfire can't last so long. You must know that refining an immortal weapon is not a day or two, but a long time. Although Chen Daoxian has mastered the secret technique of Zile Tianhua, it is still alright to let him fight the enemy. As for the refining tool, Chen Daoxian shook his head. After figuring out the purpose of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, Chen Daoxian stopped paying attention to the other party immediately. Whether it is the inheritance of the technique of refining the fairy tool, or the material for refining the fairy tool, he does not have it now, and it is useless to see it. Simply, Chen Daoxian began to fight the calamity with all his strength. There is no specific standard for monks in the creation realm to transcend tribulation, or other tribulation transcending heavenly venerates continue to transcend tribulation. That is to say, the so-called heavenly venerate 1 tribulation and heavenly venerate 2 tribulations depend on the background of the Taoist monarch in the realm of creation. Some creation realm Daojun has a profound background, and maybe he can directly pass through 3 thunder tribulations and become a of 3 tribulations. And more creation realm Daojun can only survive 1 thunder calamity, become the most common one. As for the distinction between the first tribulation heavenly venerate and the second tribulation heavenly venerate, there is only one criterion, and that is the degree of magical transformation of mana. The higher level heavenly venerate, the closer the mana is to pure yang immortal. As for the Tao realm of the tribulation transcendence cultivator is not much higher than that of the creation realm Daojun. The only difference is that the heavenly venerate realm of the tribulation transcendence cultivator will be further expanded, and the world is much more perfect than the cultivator who has just stepped into the creation realm. However, in order to completely transform into a higher level true immortal realm, the cultivator must survive the 9th thunder tribulation. And at this point, no cultivator of the human race can do it. In the Sea of Thunder, Lei Ting was tempering Chen Daoxuan's body little by little, and soon, Lei Ting went deep into his Dantian Qi Si. Chen Daoxian can feel that the goal of this thunderbolt is very clear, that is, his mana. As he expected, this thunder pierced into his Dantian Sea of Qi and smashed into his Qi Sea with a 10,000 force. Immediately, the mana in the Dantian Qi Sea was split into nothingness by this thunder, but the amazing thing was that this thunder did not hurt Chen Daoxuan's Dantian Qi Si. If I had to describe it in one word, it would be just right. It seems that this thunder knows the limit of Chen Daoxuan's Dantian's Qi Si, and deliberately uses this kind of force to smash him. At this moment, Chen Daoxian realized that Lei Ting in the Thunder Sea just tempered his physical body, not to strengthen his physical body, but to touch his bottom. This Lei Hai seems to be really conscious. Although it does not speak, but everything is so intimate. No wonder Wuhe Tianzuan said that the human race did not lack Tianzuan. If it weren't for the constant devouring of the true demon realm for hundreds of thousands of years, which greatly damaged the vitality of the Phoenix meteor realm, the number of heavenly venerates in the human race might really be more than the heavenly venerate level world demons in the true demon realm. Dantian gas in the sea. One after another thunder struck the mana. With the tempering of thunder, Chen Daoxuan's mana slowly began to transform. Pure yang breath. Gradually, Chen Daoxian sensed a trace of pure yang in his mana. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian looked happy. The transformation of mana into immortal power is one of the symbols of successful transcendence, and the next step is to transform the soul into pure yang. This level is much more dangerous than mana immortalization. Because in the final analysis, the transformation of mana into immortality is only the tempering of mana by thunder, while the pure yang transformation of divine soul is to use thunder to directly strike his divine soul. Among them, there is the most yang zi lei tianhua burning his primordial spirit. You must know that the primordial spirit, or the divine soul, is originally a yin thing. Usually, it is too late for monks to protect it. Where can it be struck by lightning? Isn't that courting death? But from the primordial spirit stage to the transcending tribulation stage, one must go through this hurdle. 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 503. Thunder Sea, surging thunder roams around. Chen Daoxuan's Dantian is full of energy. His primordial spirit sat high above the purple mansion, looking up at the purple thunderbolt that was slashing towards him. Boom! The lightning flashed, and Chen Daoxian only felt that a thorn pierced his soul, and a feeling of excruciating pain hit him. However, his Dao heart was very firm, and he quickly blocked the pain of the soul being tempered by thunder. The only thing to worry about was the limit of the soul. But obviously, the thunder that hit Chen Daoxian was not the same as the thunder that normally robbed. Thunder in the Guangyuan Thunder Sea seems to be conscious. Every thunder can not only temper the soul, but also prevent the cultivator's soul from collapsing instantly, as if someone helped the cultivator to survive the calamity. Of course, Chen Daoxian could feel the heart of this kind of boxing. Immortal Venerable Guangyuan. Chen Daoxian sighed in his heart. Although he had never met this senior before, he owed the other party a great cause and effect. But thinking that the other party has died, maybe this cause and effect will never be repaid. Shaking his head and suppressing the careful thoughts in his heart, Chen Daoxian concentrated on surviving the calamity. Beyond the Sea of Thunder. The top of Tianzuan Mountain. Gujian Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan stood together and chatted. Gujian, how many people in this group of little guys can successfully survive the calamity? Gujian Tianzuan thought for a while, 9 times out of 10. Wuhe Tianzuan nodded, 89 out of 10, the ratio is almost the same as before, but unfortunately, as the war between the world demon and our human race is getting more and more intense, our newly added Tianzuan is almost unable to keep up with the lost Tianzuan. This is in the past, but something that never happened, you say, will it? Gujian Tianzuan looked at him and said in a deep voice, you mean that the demon court is about to unify the real demon world? Wuhe Tianzuan nodded. The demon court unifies the real demon world, but sooner or later, you and I know how strong the demon court is. The power they accumulate is enough to sweep the entire real demon world. Wuhe Tianzuan had a hard time accepting this fact and couldn't help but say, could it be that the old antiques of the holy ancient demon realm just watch the demon court do whatever they want? You also said that the group of Saint Ancient Demon Realm are old antiques. They have already achieved the status of true immortals and stayed in the real demon realm, but they are only to pay for the cause and effect. Are they still trying to prevent the demon court from unifying the real demon realm? Hearing this, Wuhe Tianzuan fell silent. It's no wonder that he is not promising, and he is counting on the infighting of the world monsters to quell the human race's foreign aggression. It is really that the strength of the human race is too far from the world monsters, so big that Wuhe Tianzuan can't see any hope of the human race winning. Thinking of this, Wuhe Tianzuan sighed and said, could it be? Is my human race just waiting to die? There is no retreat, only a desperate fight. Gujian Tianzuan said calmly. As if thinking of something, Gujian Tianzuan suddenly said, by the way, are you going to prepare for the 8th Thunder Tribulation this time? That's right, just after their group of little guys crossed the robbery. Wuhe Tianzuan nodded. Hearing this, Gujian Tianzuan finally had a smile on his face. Congratulations, my human race is about to give birth to another main town guard. Wuhe Tianzuan also smiled, but this smile revealed more bitterness. In the Sea of Thunder, Chen Daoxuan's primordial spirit was tempered with thunder after another, the yin qi gradually washed away, and gradually revealed a trace of yang qi. Pure yang qi. Chen Daoxian recognized the pure yang energy on his yuanchen at a glance, and the excitement on his face could no longer be concealed. It's finally here. Chen Daoxian couldn't help but said excitedly. The cultivator's ultimate pursuit is nothing more than the transformation of the soul into the sun god, the transformation of the mana into the immortal power, and the transformation of the physical body into the immortal body. It's just that the monks of the Phoenix Meteor realm didn't have the chance to take this last step, causing countless talents to sigh with embarrassment. Although Chen Daoxian is still a long way from this last step, he has finally embarked on the final journey, the road of transforming his soul into a yang god. Although he is only taking the first step now. But this step is the dream of countless monks. Feeling the pure yang breath on the primordial spirit, Chen Daoxian knew that from this moment on, he was a genuine transcendental robbery. He did not expect that the realm of transcending tribulation is actually the easiest one to break through in all realms. Do not. To be precise, his breakthrough was all thanks to the help of Guan Yuan Leihai. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but raise a bolder idea. Since Guan Yuan Leihai's opportunity is so rare, why doesn't he work hard and survive several more thunder tribulations? There is no limit to how many times a cultivator can transcend a calamity at a time. It's just that the vast majority of cultivators are in good condition after they have survived a thunder calamity, so there is no room for them to continue to survive the calamity. But Chen Daoxian is different. First, his accumulation is extremely deep. Second, he is now in the Sea of Guan Yuan Thunder, and the damage caused by the thunder robbery to him is minimal. Chen Daoxian is fully capable of overcoming several thunder tribulations. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxuan's heart suddenly became hot. Being able to transcend several thunder tribulations at a time will undoubtedly save him a lot of time in the future, and it will also make his strength skyrocket after transcending the calamity. Unlike other creation realm deigens, the strength increase is not obvious when the thunder tribulation has just been completed, and it is necessary to master the fairy weapon or practice the secret operation of the tribulation period to make the strength skyrocket. By the way, the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Chen Daoxian instantly remembered the first secret method that ran through his entire cultivation career. The Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic has the effect of helping to restore spiritual consciousness. On the surface, it helps cultivators to restore spiritual consciousness, but in fact, it is repairing the spiritual soul of cultivators. It's just that when Chen Daoxian first came into contact with this secret method, his soul had not yet appeared. Even if he restores his soul, he can't perceive it. The only thing he can feel is the effect of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic to restore consciousness. But it's different now. Chen Daoxuan's spirit not only manifested, but also combined with Yuaning to transform into a higher-level Yuan Shen. Therefore, Chen Daoxian learned that the real effect of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic is not for the consciousness, but for the soul. Right now, the most important thing in transcending the calamity is the transformation of the soul. Compared with the divine soul receiving the thunder and the thunder, the mana being tempered by the thunder is nothing. Because most of the monks' mana can withstand the tempering of thunder, Chen Daoxian naturally has no pressure. In the process of cultivating the tribulation, the biggest obstacle is that the soul is tempered by thunder. Although Chen Daoxian has succeeded in transcending the calamity, he is unwilling to just become the heavenly lord of one calamity, and he wants to transcend more thunder calamities. Get in. If Wuhe Tianzuan knew about Chen Daoxuan's thoughts, he would definitely give such an evaluation. Indeed, Chen Daoxuan's current behavior is undoubtedly rash. But he had to go ahead, because he could feel that time was getting more and more urgent, and the time left for him or the human race was running out. What? The second thunder tempering, after Chen Daoxian silently recited the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, officially began. Only this time, thunder's tempering intensity is much stronger than the first time. Even in Guangyuan Leihai, Chen Daoxian still felt a piercing pain. Even with the firmness of his Taoist heart, he almost fell, which shows how intense the pain in this soul is. Hear this cry. Many monks who were transcending the calamity looked at Chen Daoxuan's direction. Although the sea of thunder is incomparably vast, everyone is a monk who is about to transcend the calamity. With their cultivation base, they can still hear a person screaming wildly in the sea of thunder. One after another divine consciousness glanced over, but Chen Daoxian didn't care at all. He wasn't in the mood to care either. The second thunder tribulation was a notch higher than the intensity of the first one. Sudden bombardment by thunder, Chen Daoxian almost lost his mind. Fortunately, this thunder is still close to splitting his soul, and Chen Daoxian can still persevere. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian was completely relieved. Because he knew that every time he suffered a thunderbolt, there would be a lifeline injected into his soul. He didn't know if this was the special benefit of Guangyuan Leihai, or the normal treatment that all cultivators had. In short, this vitality is the confidence for him to survive the second thunder tribulation and even more thunder tribulations. A blast of thunder can only damage my primordial spirit by less than 1/10 at most, but the power of vitality can quickly restore my spirit to its original state, and after this blast of thunder, my mana and spirit are pure yang. The breath is even more intense. This discovery immediately made Chen Daoxian full of confidence. In the distance, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, who was concentrating on refining the artifact, heard Chen Daoxuan's screams and turned his attention. Will you survive the second thunder calamity? The little guy is really courageous. After saying something casually, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion withdrew his gaze. With his cultivation base of the 8 tribulations heavenly venerate, he naturally wouldn't pay attention to a little guy who just passed the tribulation. Even Chen Daoxian Dujia, in his eyes, is only a low-level heavenly venerate, and his strength is far worse than that of a cultivator who has reached the peak of the human race. Naturally, he does not care about it. Compared with Chen Daoxuan's tribulation, the pavilion owner of Chuanbao Pavilion is more concerned about the immortal artifact he refined. Not to mention the low-grade fairy artifact. If you are fortunate enough to refine 1 or 2 more mid-grade fairy artifact, then the increase in the strength of the human race may be more effective than adding a few more low-grade gods. Fortunately, Chen Daoxuan's screams only lasted for a short moment, and then stopped. His second tribulation has entered the right track. As the time goes, more and more monks successfully crossed the tribulation and began to leave Leihai. Fewer and fewer monks remained in Leihai. In the end, only 3 monks were still struggling, including Chen Daoxian. To be precise, Chen Daoxian is not struggling, he is fully adapted to the thunder-tempering soul at this moment. Compared with the pain of thunder tempering, he was secretly paying attention to the other two human monks. The two of them, like him, chose to continue to survive the second thunder calamity. This time, only Chen Daoxian and the three of them are still in the calamity of Lei Hai of Nuada. No, there should be a pavilion master of the Chuanbao Pavilion. But they didn't come to save the calamity. They used Lei Hai's special environment to refine immortal weapons, which was different from their group of people. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion was feeling that there were fewer people who had survived the calamity, and he could feel at ease, but suddenly found a sense of consciousness swept across him. Seeing this, the pavilion master's eyes narrowed immediately. As soon as he discerned it a little, he knew who was using his divine sense to probe him. Fortunately, the other party still has a sense of proportion, only to explore his method of refining the fairy weapon, but not to explore his body. Boy, I think you are very laid back. In Chen Daoxuan's ear, a loud voice sounded. Senior, forgive me, the junior is just a temporary itch. Chen Daoxian quickly apologized. Oh? The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion was a little interested. Are you also an artifact refiner? I was lucky enough to know a little bit of superficial artifact refining, but I don't know how much worse it is compared to the senior's refining of immortal weapons. Hearing this bragging, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion nodded. This is not flattering. As the #1 refiner of the human race, any refiner is garbage in his eyes. What he is more interested in is that Chen Daoxian can survive 2 thunder tribulations in a row at one time, and it is so easy. Obviously, he is a cultivation seedling with excellent talent. There are very few people of this kind of cultivation genius who are still interested in refining tools. Because geniuses like this are generally not short of magical tools, there is no need to study the art of refining tools. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion can become the #1 refiner of the human race, all based on interest. Otherwise, with his background, there is no need to delve into the art of refining, and he only needs to concentrate on improving his cultivation and strength. As for the magic weapon and even the fairy weapon, the forces behind him can do it for him. However, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion did not. When his cultivation base was still low, he showed great interest in refining tools and put in practical actions. At the beginning, when he devoted himself to studying the art of refining, he was severely opposed by his father, but he did not care about his father's opposition at all, and he insisted on it resolutely. Now that I think about it, if it wasn't for his original persistence, the human race would not have the ability to refine immortal weapons at all. Because now in the entire human race, he is the only one who has the ability to refine immortal artifacts. After chatting with Chen Daoxian at will, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion stopped talking and concentrated on refining his fairy artifact. As for Chen Daoxian wanting to see it, let him be optimistic. In the view of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, he did not have a profound knowledge of refining tools, and even if he taught it by hand, the other party would not be able to understand a little bit of refining fairy tools. If refining an immortal weapon is so simple, then he is not the only one in the entire human race who has the ability to refine an immortal weapon. I do not know how long it has been. The remaining 2 monks couldn't hold on either, so they chose to leave Lei Hai. It is worth mentioning that among the 2, only one of them successfully survived the second thunder calamity. But in the end, he still didn't survive the second thunder calamity. However, in this way, when the other party survived the second thunder calamity in the future, his confidence was much higher than that of the other heavenly venerate one tribulation, and it was not a gain. As for Chen Daoxian, he naturally survived the second thunder tribulation smoothly. Just when he was about to survive the third thunder calamity, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke again. Boy, if you really want to study the way of refining weapons, you can come to the old man's mansion and ask me for advice after Lei Hai. You don't have to hurt your foundation in order to attract the attention of the old man. Obviously, the pavilion master of the Chuanbao Pavilion regarded Chen Daoxuan's continued tribulation as something that attracted his attention. In this regard, Chen Daoxian said a little embarrassedly, "Thank you for your concern, senior, but Junior really wants to take this opportunity to survive several more thunder tribulations." 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 504. Seeing Chen Daoxuan's determined look, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion withdrew his gaze indifferently. Speaking as a reminder in his capacity, it is more to see that Chen Daoxian is a rare cultivation talent, but since the other party insists on his own way, he will not waste his words. After cultivating to the realm of Chen Daoxian and him, he has his own understanding of the path of cultivation, and the persuasion of others is of no use to such a person. Therefore, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion did not ask any more questions after he made a statement. Seeing the other party take back his attention, Chen Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief. While transcending the calamity, being stared at by such a big boss is indeed a bit stressful. However, fortunately, the other party has already concentrated on refining the fairy weapon and has no time to focus on him. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian completely restrained his mind, preparing to continue through the third thunder tribulation. But before that, he had to recover some of the wounds on his soul. With Chen Daoxuan's current divine soul strength, if the divine soul is damaged by 30%, he can fall into a state of heavy damage, and if the damage reaches 50%, he can fall into a state of unconsciousness. And if the divine soul is wounded to 70%, it is in a state of near death, and the divine soul will collapse at any time. When he crossed the second thunder calamity before, every thunder calamity attack would cause his soul to be damaged by about 10%. The reason why he is still alive and kicking at this moment should be attributed to Lei Hai of Guanyuan realm. However, despite the special environment of the Thunder Sea in the Guanyuan realm, the continuous thunderous attacks still caused some damage to his soul. Chen Daoxian now feels that the degree of damage to his soul is less than 10%, which is regarded as a slight injury. For ordinary tribulation cultivators, this minor injury to the soul will be fine after a period of recuperation. But to continue to transcend the calamity in this state, that is, courting death, unless Chen Daoxian has a treasure who can instantly restore the wounds of his soul. It's a pity that the treasures that repair the wounds of the soul are much more precious than the treasures that repair the consciousness. If the divine sense is injured, it does not necessarily mean that the divine soul is injured, but if the divine soul is injured, the divine consciousness must be injured. Compared with the divine sense, the divine soul is the foundation, and the divine consciousness is nothing but a derivative brought by the power of the divine soul. Of course, things that are extremely difficult for other monks are not the same for Chen Daoxian. For him who has mastered the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, no matter how serious the damage to the soul is, as long as the body and spirit are not destroyed, he can use the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic to restore it to its original state. What's more, with the golden scriptures in the Sea of Knowledge guarding, Chen Daoxuan's soul is indestructible. If it weren't for the fact that he had to ask thunder to quench his soul, it would not be considered a simple attack of the soul. With the soul defense ability of his knowledge of the golden scriptures in the sea, Chen Daoxian estimated that he would not suffer even a single soul injury. But in this way, transcending the calamity would be meaningless. Fortunately, the golden scriptures in the Sea of Knowledge were not indistinguishable. In the Sea of Thunder, the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic was continuously read from Chen Daoxuan's mouth, and his wounded soul began to improve rapidly. After reciting the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic 3 times, Chen Daoxuan's spirit finally recovered. Seeing this, Chen Daoxuan's face was overjoyed, and he immediately introduced thunder from the Sea of Thunder and slashed towards his mana and soul. Beyond the Sea of Thunder, Gujian Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan stood side by side. At the entrance of the clouds, as the clouds continued to open and close, figures flew out from the Sea of Thunder. Luo Li in the distance stared at the entrance of the cloud layer. Every time a figure came out, her heart rose once, but as the number of figures continued to increase, Luo Li's heart gradually sank. No! Not yet! Luo Li's pretty face was pale. Ran Lingxi on the side comforted, "Sister Luo Li, you don't have to worry, Chen Daoxuan's cultivation talent is so good, he will definitely choose to spend one more thunder tribulation in the Thunder Sea." One more thunder tribulation? Luo Li, like a drowning man, grabbed the last straw, grabbed Ran Lingxi's sleeve, and asked, "You mean, Chen Lang is in this sea of thunder for the second time?" Ran Lingxi nodded. "I heard Daddy say that some Taoists in the creation realm have accumulated a lot, and they are not willing to spend only one thunder calamity in the Sea of Thunder, and they will choose to spend one more time in the Sea of Thunder." In the history of Guanyuan Leihai crossing the robbery, such monks existed every time, and Chen Daoxian must be such a person. For Chen Daoxuan's talent, Ran Lingxi can be said to be very convinced. Although she is not very talented, but thanks to her identity and background, she can be regarded as a person with a relatively broad vision. Even so, she has never heard of any cultivator who can break through from the third-level Daojun of the world realm to the Daojun of creation realm in 12 years. You must know that Wuhe Tianzhen's original plan was to bring Chen Daoxian to Wuhe Tianzhen's mansion for diving. His purpose is to let Chen Daoxian fight for the next opportunity to cross the tribulation. Chen Daoxian is 1,000 years ahead of the time estimated by Wuhe Tianzuan. What a perverted cultivation talent this is. Don't say that Ran Lingxi has seen it, she has never heard of it. Although Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion is a holy place for monks to practice, but Ran Lingxi has been practicing in Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion since childhood, and he has not seen how fast his cultivation speed is. The only explanation is that Chen Daoxuan's cultivation talent is amazing. Wuhe Tianzuan sometimes thinks about it. No wonder when he was in Yaoguang City, he invited Chen Daoxian to Wuhe Tianzuan Mansion, but the other party was still reluctant. Wuhe Tianzuan originally thought that Chen Daoxian said that he would definitely be able to break through to the tribulation transcendence period. With Chen Daoxuan's talent, if he can't break through to the tribulation transcendence period, then who else can this human race break through to the tribulation transcendence period? The clouds opened again, and two more figures flew out. See. The eyes of Wuhe Tianzuan and Gujian Tianzuan light up slightly. Of these two people, one of them actually survived the second thunder calamity. Gujian Tianzuan stretched out his hand, and the two immediately flew towards the top of Tianzuan Mountain. Junior Shenming and Su He have seen Ancient Sword Heavenly Venerate and Wuhe Heavenly Venerate. The two who came here respectfully bowed their hands towards Gujian Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan. Gujian Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan nodded and congratulated. "Congratulations to the two of you for stepping into the realm of Tianzuan." Afterwards, Gujian deliberately looked at the only young cultivator of the two who had survived the second thunder tribulation, and said, "If I remember correctly, are you a disciple of the Taiyin sect?" The younger generation is from the Taiyin sect. The only young cultivator named Shenming who had survived the second thunder tribulation respectfully said. Facing the ancient sword Tianzuan in front of him, he did not dare to be disrespectful. Although his Taiyin sect also has a terrifying existence comparable to that of a true immortal, among all the heavenly venerates of the human race, the ancient sword Heavenly Venerate is the first in combat strength. He heard the Heavenly Venerate in the sect say that the strength of the ancient sword Heavenly Venerate is ranked first. All depends on the pure yang immortal sword he carries. Once, when Gujian Tianzuan was rescuing a major city from danger, he used this sword to kill a real immortal-level world demon. Although the ancient sword Tianzuan lost all his mana after this sword, it did not hinder the opponent's record of killing a true immortal-level world demon with one sword. Although there are some heavenly venerates with outstanding combat power in the human race, but like Gujian Tianzuan, who can use Tianzhen's cultivation as a countermeasure to kill a true immortal, and kill them with a single sword, there is only Gujian Tianzuan alone. The rest are like Ini Tianzuan and others. At most they can only compete with the true immortal-level world demon, and even defeat the true immortal-level world demon desperately. It is precisely because Gujian Tianzuan has such a perverted strength, coupled with his long-term guarding of Tianzuan Mountain in Guanyuan realm, and has rescued many Tianzuan, the Tianzuan of the human race is willing to obey his orders. The same is true of my newly promoted Taiyin sect Tianzuan in front of me. Compared with the more stable Gujian Tianzuan, Wuhe Tianzuan was a little anxious. He quickly asked, "You two are the last group to come out. Are there other monks in the Thunder Sea?" "Have." Shenming nodded. "Besides me, he is also another cultivator who has survived the second Thunder Tribulation." Hearing this, Wu Tianzuan finally felt relieved. It's good that there is no accident. Although Nguang Yuan lay high to cross the tribulation, even if the calamity fails, there will be no danger to life, but the calamity is always the biggest difficulty in the monk's cultivation career. No one can guarantee that Guang Yuan lay high will make all the monks safe and sound. But now with the assurance of Shenming, the newly promoted second Jie Tianzuan, Wu Tianzuan suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Daoxuan's talent is excellent, and he is probably the only one in the entire Tianzuan mountain. He knew very well that if the other party didn't fall, he would definitely be a Silver Wing Heavenly Venerate or even an Ancient Sword Heavenly Venerate in the future. Although the 8 Tribulations Heavenly Venerate as the main town guard has also made a great contribution to the human race, the top human race powerhouses with true immortal level combat power, sitting on the Tianzuan mountain and serving as a strategic support force are even more important. The 8 Tribulations Heavenly Venerate lacks the human race, and the Heavenly Venerate with true immortal level combat power, the human race is even more lacking. Compared with Wu Tianzuan, who is concerned about chaos, Gujin Tianzuan is much calmer. He smiled at the 2 new Tianzans and said gently, "You two have just passed through the thunder calamity, and your souls have been seriously damaged, so you should go to rest. Sometime in the future, at the celebration banquet for the success of the calamity, I will personally send a small gift to the 2 of you." Hearing this, Shenming and Su He looked at each other, and happily bowed their hands to the ancient sword Tianzuan, saying, "Thank you Gujin Tianzuan." Then he bowed to Wu Tianzuan, "Wu Tianzuan, Gujin Tianzuan, I will retire. Go."
Watching the 2 leave, Gu Jian Tianzuan smiled and looked at his old friend. "I'm worried that you are in a hurry. If you don't know, I thought the one inside was your illegitimate child." Hearing the old friend joking, Wu Tianzuan shook his head helplessly. In the eyes of the 2 of them, Chen Daoxian is also coming out soon, and it is indeed a happy event that the human race has 2 more heavenly lords of the second tribulation at one time. It's not to say how powerful the second tribulation heavenly venerate is, and being able to survive 2 thunder tribulations in a row at a time, to a certain extent, represents a potential. According to past experience, when entering Guang Yuan Lei for the first time, the more cultivators who have survived tribulations in a row, the higher their achievements will be in the future. 47,000 years. The holder of this record is a human race heavenly venerate 200,000 years ago. The other party has survived 5 thunder tribulations at one time, which can be said to be amazing for an era. In addition, the power of the demon court at that time was not as strong as it is now, and the real demons in the real demon world fought endlessly, and the situation of the human race was much more stable than it is now. Especially when this human race genius who has survived 5 consecutive thunder tribulations grows up, the world demon who has been suppressed by his own strength does not dare to violate the border. It's not that the power of the human race was stronger than that of the world monsters at that time, but firstly, the power of the world monsters was chaotic at that time, and secondly, this human race genius was indeed powerful. At least stronger than the current ancient sword Tianzuan. That is a terrifying existence who can really fight against the real immortal level world monster with the cultivation of the heavenly deity. But, even so, this human race genius was no match for time. In the end, when Shou Yuan was approaching, he was unwilling to attack the 9th thunder tribulation, and finally turned into fly ash. And the strongest human race in this era, Gu Jian Tianzuan, only survived 3 thunder tribulations in the Guangyuan Thunder Sea. It can be said that his talent are not very good compared to those geniuses in the history of the human race. Gujin Tianzuan can kill a true immortal level world demon with a single sword, more relying on the immortal sword he carries. Ray overseas. Gujin Tianzuan and Wu Tianzuan were still waiting. For a long time, they saw that there was still no movement at the exit of the cloud layer, and a bold idea came to their hearts. Chen Daoxian, shouldn't he be going through the 3rd thunder calamity? Thinking of this, Wu Tianzuan is okay, but Gujin Tianzuan has a look of surprise in his eyes. Survive 3 consecutive thunder tribulations. Can it really be successful? just as Gujin Tianzuan and Wuhe Tianzuan expected. In the Sea of Thunder.
Qin Dao Xian is going through the third thunder tribulation. Compared with crossing the second thunder calamity, the difficulty level of Qin Dao Xian crossing the third thunder calamity was significantly increased. The most important change was that after Lei Ting split the soul, the vitality left behind was simply not enough to repair the soul. During the third thunder calamity, Qin Dao Xian discovered that every thunderbolt in his Dantian Qi Si could damage his soul to nearly 20%. Then, the vitality left by Lei Ting was only enough for him to restore his soul to 95%. That is to say, every thunderbolt can damage Qin Daoxuan's soul by about 1/20th. If he accumulates like this, before a few thunderbolts, he will be severely injured and even fall into a coma. For monks in the midst of calamity, falling into a coma is no different from dying. Now for Qin Dao Xian, the safest thing to do is not to introduce thunder into the sea of Dantian energy. This is the benefit of transcending the calamity in the Guanyuan Thunder Sea. Thunder is conscious. Unless the cultivator wants to die, it will not really hurt the cultivator who came here to transcend the calamity. There are two choices in front of Qin Dao Xian now, one is to give up the calamity, and the other is to continue. If there are no other cards, Qin Dao Xian will definitely choose the first one. But now, he chooses the second one. When cultivating a calamity, cultivators are not allowed to use magic weapons, otherwise they will suffer a stronger thunder force. But some special secret techniques are not included, such as Qin Daoxuan's Purple Thunder Skyfire, and his Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. As for the constellation technique, Qin Dao Xian has not thought about whether to use it or not. Because according to the statement that monks are not allowed to use magic weapons, the use of astral technique requires the cooperation of the stars' kendo map, Qin Dao Xian does not know if this will lead to more terrifying thunder. 7017K Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. Chapter 505. Let's try Zilei Tianhua first. Qin Dao Xian secretly said. After Zilei Tianhua continuously devoured the fragments of the Golden Crow, he has been promoted to the realm of the Triple Calamity, and it is suitable to use it to resist the Third Thunder Calamity. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxuan's thoughts moved, and the purple flame in the Tanzhong acupoint quickly sank and entered the sea of Dantian Qi. Zilei Tianhua is unusually domineering. As soon as he entered the sea of Dantian energy, Qin Daoxuan's sea of mana was forcibly separated by the coercion it radiated. That is to say, Qin Dao Xian is the owner of Zilei Tianhua, and if he is an ordinary monk, let alone let Zilei Tianhua enter the sea of Dantian Qi, even if the body touches a little spark, it will be instantly burned. So domineering. Qin Dao Xian glanced at Zilei Tianhua and muttered. Not only the sea of mana, but the thunder on the top of Qin Daoxuan's head, when it entered the sea of Qi in Qin Daoxuan's Dantian, its power was obviously lowered by a level. As expected, due to the influence of the Purple Thunder Skyfire, the power of the three thunder tribulations has been reduced. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxuan's face was full of joy. It is not the key to how many thunder attacks the monks have to withstand, the key is that the monks can use the destruction and vitality of the thunder to temper their mana and soul. Especially to temper the soul, let it slowly transform to the realm of the sun god. Therefore, Qin Dao Xian can choose to undergo several times of thunder tempering, thereby reducing the power of each thunder. But the thunder in the thunder calamity is not under the control of Qin Dao Xian. Speaking of which, due to the partiality of the consciousness of the Guanyuan world, he had already taken a huge advantage in transcending the calamity in the Guanyuan Thunder Sea. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, the thunder tribulation when the Dao Jun of the creation realm transcended the tribulation was aimed at destroying the cultivator. In the Guanyuan Thunder Sea, if the cultivator felt that he could not survive the thunder calamity, he could even stop the thunder attack. It is no wonder that every time the Dao Jun of creation realm broke his head and wanted to get this kind of heaven-defying opportunity. Qin Dao Xian felt that despite the weakening of the Purple Thunder Skyfire, the power of each thunder can only cause half damage to his soul. In this way, Lei Ting's vitality can completely restore his soul. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian was overjoyed. He knew that his third thunder robbery was secure. Knowing that he had the confidence to survive the third thunder tribulation, Chen Daoxian calmed down again. He began to carefully appreciate the change of the soul slowly transforming to pure yang. Otherwise, the cultivator who just passed the tribulation is not much stronger than the Daojun of the creator realm. Boom boom boom. In the sea of Dantian energy, Lei Ting continued to temper his soul and mana. But Chen Daoxian not only doesn't care, but has the intention to study the changes in the heaven-shaking axe after the mana is increased. Far away, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, who was refining immortal artifacts, saw that Chen Daoxian was going through the third thunder tribulation, and seeing that the situation was very stable, he could not help but start to pay attention to him again. After all, in his era, only Gujian Tianzuan was able to achieve the first achievement of transcending tribulations 3 times in a row in Guanyuan Leihai. Although Chen Daoxian's ability to survive 3 thunder tribulations in a row does not mean that he will be able to achieve the achievement of Ancient Sword Heavenly Venerate in the future, there is still no problem in becoming a Heavenly Venerate with true immortal level combat power. In view of this, the pavilion owner of Chuanbao Pavilion naturally has to pay attention to the future top powerhouse of the human race. You must know that in the form that the human race is facing now, every time a top powerhouse is added, the hope of the human race increases. I hope that this will continue to increase little by little, and one day, the human race will break through the darkness and usher in the light. Chen Daoxian didn't know what the other party was thinking. In his opinion, whether he survived 3 thunder tribulations at one time or 5 thunder tribulations at one time, the improvement in his actual combat power would not be too obvious. Because Chen Daoxian's current strongest combat power is to use the astral technique, relying on the blessing of 1,806 star insect soldiers equivalent to the Daojun of creation realm, the actual combat power he can burst out has long reached or even surpassed Silver Wing this level of Tianzuan. He doesn't know if it can be compared to Gujian Tianzuan, but even if there is a difference, it is very small. What is the concept of the power of 1,800 creators and Taoists gathered in one person? That is to say, Chen Daoxian can no longer use the Dao realm to increase this power after performing the astral technique. Otherwise, Chen Daoxian would dare to use his own power to directly rush into the demon court's lair and kill all the other high-level officials. I do not know how long it has been. With the last thunder, Chen Daoxian finally survived the third thunder calamity. Call! There was a hint of joy in Chen Daoxian's eyes. It's done. In the distance, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, who was refining immortal artifacts, could not help but stand up when he saw this scene. 3 times of thunder tribulations in a row. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion murmured. Ray overseas. Gujian Tianzuan also flashed a trace of joy in his eyes. 3 thunder tribulations. Just now, he opened the cloud portal, allowing everyone to see the changes in the Sea of Thunder. Sure enough, I saw Chen Daoxian go through 3 consecutive thunder tribulations. The exclamations on Tianzuan Mountain came one after another. After 3 consecutive thunder tribulations, is there a second ancient sword heavenly venerate in our era? 3 times of thunder tribulations in a row, immortal venerable Guanyuan is on top, there is hope for my human race. Great! On Tianzuan Mountain, almost all Tianzuan are in high spirits. As the top group of people in the entire human race, they know better than any cultivator of the severe situation facing the human race. Chen Daoxian, the newly promoted heavenly venerate who has survived 3 consecutive thunder tribulations, is undoubtedly a booster for them to boost their morale. Other descendants of Tianzuan saw Chen Daoxian's praise from their own ancestors, and it was the first time that they recognized Chen Daoxian's name. However, not all of the monks present were happy from the bottom of their hearts. A thin cultivator wearing a crescent-colored Taoist robe saw Chen Daoxian's face after 3 consecutive thunder tribulations. His face was full of excitement, but he actually frowned secretly in his heart. This matter must be reported to the emperor as soon as possible. The top of Tianzuan Mountain. Ran Lingxi almost jumped up with joy. She shook Luo Li's arm and said excitedly, "Sister Luo Li, am I right? Chen Daoxian is talented and can definitely survive the tribulation successfully." You see, he not only successfully survived the tribulation, but also survived it 3 times in a row. Thunder robbery. This time, he is completely famous in the human race. Totally famous? Luo Li was a little confused. You do not know? What do you know? Luo Li was even more confused. Ran Lingxi looked at her in surprise, but suddenly remembered something, patted her forehead and said, "I forgot, Sister Luo Li, you are not from the inner realm." Ran Lingxi explained, Tianzuan Mountain opens the Guanyuan Leihai every 1,000 years, and every time the Leihai opens, a large number of creation realm Daojun will enter it, pass through the thunder tribulation, and be promoted to Tianzuan. However, there is a big difference between transcending tribulation and transcending tribulation. Ran Lingxi sold Guanzi. Seeing Ran Lingxi selling out, Luo Li chuckled and asked along the other side's words, "I don't know what the difference is." Ran Lingxi smiled and continued, "I heard from my father that the Daojun of the creation realm transcended the calamity in the Guanyuan Thunder Sea, not only through the first thunder calamity. Theoretically speaking, the Daojun of the creation realm can even survive 9 thunder tribulations at one time, and directly become a Mahayana true immortal." What? Luo Li was startled. She even dared to imagine that she had survived 9 thunder tribulations to become a Mahayana true immortal. Cough, of course, it is impossible to survive 9 thunder tribulations in Guanyuan realm, but a cultivator can still survive 8 thunder tribulations in a row and become an 8th tribulation heavenly venerate. 8 tribulations heavenly venerate. Luo Li glanced at the ancient sword Tianzuan on the top of the mountain, wondering what he was thinking. Of course, in fact, the most powerful person in the history of my Guanyuan human race has only survived 5 consecutive thunder tribulations. Speaking of this, Ran Lingxi yearned for it. At that time, although our human race was still huddled in the inner domain, the world monsters basically did not dare to invade the border of our human race. Because of the existence of this top powerhouse, those tens of thousands of years are the most stable and harmonious time for my human race, but unfortunately, Luo Li knew what Ran Lingxi was regretting. The monks of the human race could not survive the 9th thunder calamity and become a Mahayana true immortal. It is said that the human race will be limited by the world. In fact, because the world level is not enough, it is impossible to breed the thunder that makes the cultivator survive the 9th thunder tribulation. Just like this Guanyuan realm. As a true immortal world, the strongest level of thunder that it can breed is only the 8th level of thunder. In the ancient times, only the real demon world and the phoenix meteor world could breed the 9th thunder catastrophe. In today's era, as the phoenix meteor realm continues to be swallowed up, it has also lost its ability to allow monks to survive the 9th thunder tribulation. In addition, the tribulation itself will have a certain impact on the world consciousness. If it is normal, it will be fine. A little impact is nothing to the world consciousness of the phoenix meteor realm. However, in order to resist the devouring of the real demon world, the phoenix meteor realm was already unbearable. If the human cultivators were still gathered in the phoenix meteor realm to transcend tribulation, I am afraid that the process of devouring the phoenix meteor realm by the real demon world would at least double. As for the human race to go to the real demon world to transcend the calamity, it is not that the human race has not thought about it, but it is almost impossible to implement it. First of all, the confrontation between the human race and the world monsters has been 100,000 years. What are the gods of the human race, and the world monsters basically know the bottom line. Therefore, it is extremely difficult for the human race to go to the real demon world, not to mention the real demon world. In addition, even if a certain human race heavenly venerate had unfortunate luck and successfully smuggled into the true demon realm, Chapter 506. After a long while, the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion recovered his expression and said, "If you can break his record, this old man will give you a big gift." Big gift? Chen Daoxuan's eyes lit up slightly, it must be unusual to be called a great gift by the pavilion master of the Chuanbao Pavilion, the first artifact refiner of the human race. In fact, what Chen Daoxian covets the most is not the gift from the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, but the other party's method of refining immortal weapons. Senior, I don't want any gift from you. The junior has a request. Say. Junior wants to learn the method of refining immortal weapons from senior. Under the black robe of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, the corner of his mouth raised a slight arc. A word is settled. After receiving a positive reply from the other party, Chen Daoxuan's confidence was high. With the help of the purple thunder skyfire of the triple tribulation fire, Chen Daoxian finally survived the third thunder tribulation, but for the fourth thunder tribulation, the purple thunder skyfire alone is not enough. However, Chen Daoxian has another whole card, that is, Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. If it is said that the purple thunder skyfire is to weaken the power of thunder and let Chen Daoxian survive the thunder, then the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic is to use its ability to quickly restore the soul to help Chen Daoxian survive the thunder. With the speed of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic to restore the soul, as long as the thunder power of Lei Jia does not instantly destroy his soul, he can quickly recover. This is Chen Daoxuan's biggest reliance on transcending the robbery. As for the astral art, to perform this immortal art requires the use of the star sword map. Chen Daoxian does not know whether it can be recognized by Lei Jia. If it is not recognized, it is self-defeating. Therefore, astral technique is just a pending option in his mind. Chen Daoxian would not take it seriously if he could use the astral technique to transcend the calamity, let alone the 8th level thunder tribulation, or even the 9th level thunder tribulation. Ray overseas. On Tianzuan Mountain. Everyone was shocked when they saw that the thunder cloud formed by the gathering of thunder on Chen Daoxuan's head had not dissipated. This is. He's going to survive the 4th thunder tribulation. No way, the 4th thunder tribulation, how is this possible? Could it be that our era is really going to produce an extremely strong man? On Tianzuan Mountain, the cultivators were all excited. Aside from a few people, there is no one who wants to go up to Tianzuan on Tianzuan Mountain and go down to a servant in Tianzan's mansion. No one wants to be destroyed by the world monster. This kind of hatred has nothing to do with everyone's status in the human race, but comes from the instinct of everyone in the blood to hope that the race can continue. The top of Tianzuan Mountain. Gu Jian Tianzan's expression also became extraordinarily dignified. He said to himself, is it the 4th thunder calamity? Compared with the ancient sword Tianzuan, Wuhe Tianzuan knows more about Chen Daoxuan's talent. After all, this one is a freak who has broken through from the 3rd layer of the world realm to the creation realm in just 10 years. It was 1,000 years faster than he expected. This kind of freak, with his tens of thousands of years of life, is also unheard of. Could it be that he really has the possibility to break that record? Wuhe Tianzuan whispered. It's just that his voice was small, but it was still heard by the ancient sword Tianzuan beside him. That one, you mean him? Well, the first celestial venerable of the human race, Emperor Slaughter Celestial Venerable. Wuhe Tianzuan nodded and said without hesitation. When Gu Jian Tianzuan heard this, he looked at Chen Daoxian, who was sitting cross-legged in the Sea of Lei, and shook his head. It shouldn't be possible, you know. Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan is not only the first Tianzuan of the human race after the ancient times, he was placed in the ancient times, is also the absolute first heavenly venerate. For this evaluation, Wuhe Tianzuan very much agrees, yes, that one, but there is an existence that has opened up another way. Another way. It sounds amazing and talented, but in fact, isn't it the last fight against the hopeless immortality? If the immortal way can be expected, why should another one be created? This road is difficult and dangerous, the road is rough, and the future is uncertain. How can people who do not really embark on this road can imagine it? Unfortunately, it still falls short. Speaking of this, Gu Jian Tianzan's eyes were extremely dim. Even with the talent of Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan, there is no way to go, and future generations dare not go. This is also the reason why no one dares to take the other side's path in the future. In addition, Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan is worried about misleading future generations, and all the inheritance of this path is brought into the grave. At this point, even if future generations want to study this path, there is no way to start. The practice of Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan was also criticized by countless descendants of the human race. They said that Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan disregarded the situation of the human race, abandoned the safety of the human race, and would rather take this inheritance into the grave than pass it on to future generations. This is also the reason why many human race heavenly venerates are reluctant to mention him after the death of Emperor Slaughter Heavenly Venerate. But Gujian Tianzuan, as the first Tianzuan of the human race in this era, knew that Emperor Slaughter Tianzuan did this, and there must be his reasons. As for some rumors that he was selfish, Gujian Tianzuan even scoffed. For 470,000 years, any of the countless human race heavenly venerates may be selfish, but the Emperor Slaughter Heavenly Venerate will not. Because, he is the only one who has the possibility of becoming an immortal among countless heavenly deities, but he chose to give up. In the Sea of Thunder, Chen Daoxian has already begun his fourth Thunder Tribulation. As he had expected, the power of the fourth Thunder Tribulation was raised by another level compared to the third Thunder Tribulation. This time, even if his soul is strengthened and the power of thunder is weakened by the purple thunder skyfire, each thunder can still damage his soul by 20%. In other words, one thunderbolt can make Chen Daoxian's soul close to serious injury, and 3 consecutive thunderbolts can make him fall into a coma and die. Obviously, if there are no other means, Chen Daoxian will never be able to pass this fourth Thunder Tribulation. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian was not in a hurry, and immediately recited the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra that he had recited for an unknown number of times. The road is silent. Even if Chen Daoxian was being watched by countless eyes and consciousness at the moment, they could not see the scriptures that Chen Daoxian was talking about. Chen Daoxian knew this for a long time. The Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic seems to be known only to him alone. Even if he wanted to teach it to Luo Li and the others, he couldn't do it at all. Dantian gas in the sea. The divine soul, which had been hit hard by the thunder, recovered almost in an instant. At the same time, the pure yang breath on Chen Daoxian's soul instantly became stronger. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian was overjoyed. He knew that he had passed the fourth thunder calamity. Sure enough, just as he expected, the fourth thunder tribulation was passed safely. So far, Chen Daoxian has surpassed the first heavenly venerate of this era, Gujian Heavenly Venerate. Lay overseas, countless celestial beings like Wuhe Tianzuan inquired about the origin of Chen Daoxian. For the top heavenly venerate who is about to appear in the human race, anyone who has a heart for the human race heavenly venerate is excited and happy. Fourth Thunder Tribulation. Chen Daoxian opened his eyes and moved his muscles and bones. At this time, the voice of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion came again, "Would you like to take a break before continuing?" Saying that, a bottle of medicinal herbs instantly appeared in front of Chen Daoxian. This is. Chen Daoxian took the elixir, opened it, and said with a look of surprise, "Return to the immortal pill. This thing is not an ordinary elixir, but an elixir." Chen Daoxian never thought that in addition to the artifact refiners who can refine immortal artifacts, there are actually alchemists who can refine elixir. This gave him a new evaluation of the strength of the human race. This elixir is extremely precious. If you want to hit the fifth thunder calamity, you can take one to nourish your soul and go through the thunder calamity. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion said slowly. It seems that he is even more nervous than Chen Daoxian about whether Chen Daoxian can survive the fifth thunder calamity. Although he didn't know why the other party cared so much about whether he could survive the fifth thunder calamity, Chen Daoxian still received his favor. He bowed his hands towards the position of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, and said respectfully, "Thank you for the pills, senior. No need to be polite." After the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion said such a sentence, he remained silent again. Ray overseas. Gujian Tianzuan saw that the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion even took out the immortal pill, and he couldn't help laughing. this old guy Chuanbao is very stingy on weekdays, but he is more generous today. Wuhe Tianzuan shook his head and said with a smile, "You don't even think about who he is." Hearing this, Gu Jian Tianzuan seemed to think of something, and his eyes lit up. "You mean?" Wuhe Tianzuan pursed his lips. "I didn't say anything." "You guy." Gu Jian Tianzuan laughed out loud. But thinking about the origin of the Chuanbao Pavilion, and looking at the performance of the current Chuanbao Pavilion master at this time, Gu Jian Tianzuan felt that the possibility of his guess was getting bigger and bigger. If so, Gu Jian Tianzuan suddenly felt a fiery heat in his heart. In the Sea of Thunder. Chen Daoxian held the Huishan Immortal Pill in his hand, but did not take it immediately. Nonsense. His soul was not injured at all. Taking this elixir, wouldn't it be a waste of life and would be struck by lightning? Well, even though he's being struck by lightning right now. But elixir. It was the first time he had seen the elixir with his own eyes. Although this item was of no great use to him, in the future, whether it was for Luo Li, Fei Chenxue, or the Qin clan, it would be a peerless treasure to help him overcome the calamity. No matter how bad it is, Chen Daoxian can also give one to Wuhe Tianzuan, and the other party just has to cross the 8th thunder calamity. Wuhe Tianzuan has a great kindness for him, and Chen Daoxian is not someone who knows his kindness and does not repay it. Put away the elixir. Chen Daoxian took a deep breath and began to experience the 5th thunder tribulation again. At this moment, everyone on Tianzuan Mountain held their breath, as if they were afraid of disturbing Chen Daoxian. Even Gu Jian Tianzuan couldn't help holding his breath. The 5th thunder robbery. Everyone said silently in their hearts. In the Sea of Thunder. But no matter how sad and resentful he was, he kept a little clarity of Lingtai and did not sink completely. The Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic that he recited silently in his mouth did not stop for a moment. I do not know how long it has been. The thunder cloud dissipated, and Chen Daoxian opened his eyes. There was only a tear in the corner of his eye. Far away. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion suddenly stood up, even ignoring the immortal artifact he was refining. He raised his head with tears in his eyes. 200,000 years. 200,000 years. Finally let the old man wait. The figure of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion disappeared instantly, and then, his figure appeared in front of Chen Daoxian. Seeing the sudden appearance of the pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion, Chen Daoxian immediately bowed his hands to him. Junior Chen Daoxian, I have seen Senior. You, very good. Very good. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion patted Chen Daoxian's shoulder heavily, choking on his words. He had so much to say, but didn't know where to start. The outside world has been rumored that the Chuanbao Pavilion existed in the ancient times and has continued to this era, but who can know that the history of the Chuanbao Pavilion is only 200,000 years old? The so-called inheritance from ancient times is just a rumor. In truth, Chuanbao Pavilion does not even have a long history of Chenyuan Jianzong. I said, if you can break his record, the old man will give you a big gift. But, I haven't broken his record yet. Chen Daoxian was a little puzzled. The pavilion master of Chuanbao Pavilion smiled and shook his head. Enough is enough. Enough? 7017K. Please remember this book's first domain name. Mobile version reading website, WAP. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.